Well, good morning, damn fam. Today is July 1st, 2026. Happy Canada Day. It's going to be a great one. I have all, all faith that it will be. Today on the Daily Beaver Morning Show, we will be talking about things related to Canada. Lost citizens, for example, the renovation of 24 Sussex, one of our institutions. We'll talk about some Canadians who make us proud because there are new nominees to the Order of Canada. And if we have time, we'll touch on more things because the Prime Minister gave us another one of his forward guidance videos and has been up north to talk to the Inuit about progressing on major projects. So there's a lot going on. Grab your favorite bevy, and hey, it's Canada Day. So if you're getting the party started a little early, we're not going to judge. So long as it's all in good fun. Grab your favorite bevy, make yourself comfortable because here we go.
Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 6 and episode number 938 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian. And of course, always beaverific. We've changed the setup again back to our regular format because, hey, it's Canada Day. We had a great Pride Month. Pride celebrations are not over, of course, because, there's so many cities. We can't do them all in the month of June. I know that Ottawa's is coming up in August, so we'll still have some more Pride to celebrate over the course of the summer. And of course, National Indigenous Peoples Month also came to an end. But today, we are celebrating Canada Day. For those of you who do celebrate, other people have a different relationship to Canada on Canada Day, and that's perfectly fine. Whatever you do on this day to advance your cause is also it's part of this whole big beautiful mess that we're building together, and hopefully someday the reason for which you cannot participate in Canada as much as I do will be resolved, and we'll all be able to be celebrating together at some point. But all the work is important. So whether you are celebrating Canada or whether you're choosing this day to point out places where Canada could still improve, all of it is welcome and all of it is part of what it is to be Canadian. It's not just one thing. right? But as you know, I'm a big fan. It's my second favorite day of the year after my birthday because that is the only day of the year where it truly is all about me. The other days of the year, I just pretend it's all about me. That's not true, actually. But okay, yeah, my birthday is the day that it is all about me, though. However, that part is true. I give the other 364. That day's mine, 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 mine. But Canada Day, I mean, if you're a happy, proud Canadian who's optimistic about the future and believes in the potential of this country, this is a great day. This is an absolutely great day. It's a great day to be Canadian. It's a great day. It's always a good day to be alive and kicking and, doing all the good stuff. And it's just a good day for us to be just that little bit more patriotic. It's kind of interesting this year because we've been rather patriotic all year long, thanks to the great unifier, Donald Trump. I had to. I had to. But yes, we've seen a wonderful year of what it is to be Canadian, standing up for ourselves, keeping our elbows up, not always elbows up in someone's faces, but always keeping our elbows up, standing on guard, buying Canadian, boycotting the United States, boycotting their cars, boycotting tourism, boycotting their products, making other choices for our vacation, making other choices for our purchases, having more staycations, supporting our other allies who support us by taking more trips to Mexico, for example. That's one of the things that happened. Canadians became the highest tourist group going to Mexico over the course of the last year. Um, Sometimes going to Mexico gets you a run in with a cartel. But on the whole, it's a good time. Don't ask me how I know. But and we've seen some wonderful, not only accomplishments by Canadians throughout the year, but just some wonderful pulling together from Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Just expressing faith in our country, number one, over the past year, or a little more than a year now, having saved it from the clutches of a political movement that wanted us to believe that we're old and fat and ugly, and that everything about us is broken, and that nobody will love us except for them, so we might as well just surrender to the fate that they had in store for us. And then we decided to pull away from that. Boy, did we ever dodge a bullet there. That's something to celebrate. Absolutely. The fact that we have a much greater standing on the international scene at this point this year than we had last year. That's something to celebrate. The fact that Canada appears to be a trusted leader, soft power leader, but a trusted soft power leader on the world stage. That is something to celebrate. The fact that for the first time in a while, uh, we have a government that a lot of people appear to believe in, given approval ratings and backings. That's a good thing. That there appears to be a rejection of toxicity. That's a good thing. Um, there is a lot to celebrate. Of course, we have a lot to work on. That is natural. That is normal. Affordability is an issue. We're still walking the path. We've only taken a few first steps, really, if we're looking in terms of the whole history of the nation. But we seem to be firmly on the path to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Hopefully, that continues to grow. We are recognizing, to the consternation of federal conservatives, uh, the diversity and the richness of our cultural mosaic. We recently passed a bill to recognize Arab Heritage Month, but we recognize Heritage Months from many cultures already. Um, Even with regard to our military, for people who are focused on that, recruitment levels are going up, and we finally met the 2% of spending that we had committed for NATO. Would be really nice if we could also make our 0.7% of GDP spending for foreign aid. Just saying out there, foreign aid is also part of our diplomacy. you know, quiver. We can use the 4 and 8 arrow in our quiver from time to time. You know, let's meet that goal too, since we're out there meeting goals. Just saying, right? Um, we have a lot to be proud of, especially when we take the time to look at each other or look at ourselves with the eyes that other nations are looking at us, right? There was recently a poll in Australia that indicates that Mark Carney, for Australians, is the global leader in whom they have the most trust. There you go. And it's the first time that I think Canada has led that with Australians. Usually it's, uh, New Zealand and the leader of New Zealand, which, the leader of New Zealand is very, 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 very close behind. It's not like the leader of New Zealand took a tumble. But Canada is just being perceived as that nation and the nation that has that particular leader that is right for these really weird and messy times. And that is something that we're not used to as Canadians, m- seeing ourselves looked upon by the rest of the world as the place or the source for what to do next. Please offer us some global leadership. We It's not that we haven't taken global leadership at times. We've done some wonderful things over the past years, right? And over the course of our history, peacekeeping. How in during the world wars we were a good base for aviation training. Um, you know, Terry Fox, who, by the way, we just celebrated. Um, oh, I can't remember exactly what occasion we had, but it was his. I think was it his birthday on June the 28th. Just take that little look at that. Um, no, it was the day that he passed away, June 28th, 1981. So we were looking at, uh, what is it, 45 years of that? Exactly, just a few days ago. But there's, because of him, there's the Terry Fox Marathon of Hope, which is a phenomenon around the world. We have the Landmines Treaty. We got a Foreign Affairs Minister, Lloyd Axworthy, who spearheaded that. There have been many times, over the course of the history of this nation where we've exerted leadership. But we're in a moment right now. And that is, we're not used to that as Canadians, sort of being the center of attention. But we are at the moment. And given the particular moment and the whole context, we're all kind of proud of that. We're all kind of proud of that. Um, Going back to Terry Fox, um, just a little side thing because I happen to have the note in front of me here. It says that to date, over $800 million has been raised worldwide for cancer research in Terry's name through the annual Terry Fox Run held across Canada and around the world. And this has been going on for over 40 years now, right? We can be global leaders by our example. So we have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot to be proud of. As I mentioned, okay, of course, a lot to work on. But it's a good day for all of us to be able to just be a little more, just be a little extra Canadian. It's not like the world doesn't need more Canada. So, our efforts hopefully will be put to good use. And while all of this is happening, of course, we are celebrating the efforts of our Canadian men's soccer team making history at the World Cup. Again, letting the world know who Canada is on the world stage by their example, their grit, their determination, their mastery of self, their composure, their maturity, all things that are making us very proud. Of course, those aren't the only Canadians who are representing us in the field of sports. We have Canadians playing at Wimbledon right now. There is an under 21 uh, major basketball tournament going on where we have Canadians playing there as well. Um, There's going to be a major volleyball tournament coming up soon as well. We have the League of Nations competition where Canada is representing us. There's lots of things going on, lots of opportunities for Canadians to make us proud. And we will be talking about some of them today because about 5 days ago, there was the announcement of who will be the latest nominees and inductees to the Order of Canada. So we have a lot to celebrate. Let's get into it and start talking about things. I don't know if I asked you. I don't know if I did the full introduction yet. So, just in case I didn't, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Bastard, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvin Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Of course, if you would like to offer us a little Canada Day support, the QR code for contribution to the Emergency Lodge Hydration Fund is right there. Or if you want to donate directly to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com through a bank transfer so that we get 100% of your donation. You don't support any USCE tech bros on Canada Day. That's another way to do it. And we are grateful for any support that you offer us. And of course, have to ask you, how is your mental health doing today? I, of course, am doing great because it is Canada Day. Like I said, one of my two favorite days of the year. I got a spiffy new t shirt. It says True North on it. So I kind of had to have it, you know. It kind of actually makes me look like I have got pecs too, which is kind of nice. It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. Damn, I look jacked in this shirt. Damn. It's a very flattering cut, I have to say. um, and of course, yes, Kit Linda, we should also note that today is also Memorial Day in Newfoundland and Labrador. And because it is Memorial Day, it's a day where we recognize, and Kit Hugh had brought us a moment of that. Hold on, I'll see if I can bring it up here, because there was, of course, the province of Newfoundland and Labrador made a great sacrifice, lost a lot of their sons in the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, July 1st, 1916. Got this from Kit Hugh. He had posted on his Blue Sky. At Beaumont-Hamel, 800 Newfoundlanders went over the top into the jaws of death. Only 26 could report for roll after colors on July 2nd. As an Upper Canadian this time of year, I like to think Canada joined you folks in 1949. From a hasty pea, better than the best, lest we forget. And see if I can get a little bit more of that for you. If you haven't had an opportunity, there is a Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial, which is a preserved World War I battlefield park in France dedicated to the Newfoundland Regiment. It marks the tragic assault on July 1st, 1916, where 85% of the regiment became casualties in less than 30 minutes during the first day of the Battle of the Somme. So if you ever have an opportunity to go there and pay respects, that would be definitely a key moment in Canadians' life. It's located 9 kilometers north of Albert, France, in the Somme region. It's 30 hectares in size, making it the largest of the trail of caribou memorial sites. The Caribou Memorial, I'm having trouble today. The Caribou Monument, a magic. Let's try that one more time. The Caribou Monument is a I am having trouble. The Caribou Monument is a majestic 770-kilogram bronze caribou. The emblem of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment stands atop a mound of Newfoundland granite and native shrubs. And there is an image of it here that I can bring to you. So let's put it up. It's something I had never actually seen before, to be totally honest. So there you go. That's what it looks like over here. All right. And what else does it say about this site? Take a look at it here. There's something called the Danger Tree, which marks an area of devastating machine gun fire in no man's land. A replica of the iconic shattered original tree stands on the battlefield as a poignant signal of loss. And it is one of the very few places on the Western Front where the original trench lines, mine craters, and wire lanes remain visible and untouched. So that gives you a little bit more of a sense of what happened on the day when you're there and you're looking at it. According to veterans.gc.ca, says that during the time of the First World War, 1914 to 1918, Newfoundland was a dominion of the British Empire, not yet a part of Canada. Once Britain declared war on Germany in August 1914, Newfoundland, like Canada, was automatically at war. The people of Newfoundland responded with a great outpouring of patriotism, and many rushed to enlist. From a total population of about 240,000, more than 12,000 Newfoundlanders would join up during the war. Wow, that's like 5% of the population. The Newfoundland Regiment was quickly assembled and hastily trained, with the first recruits sent overseas in October 1914 to become a unit of the British Army. They would become known as the Blue Pooties because of the color of the uniform leggings they wore on their lower legs. The uniform leggings they wore on their lower legs. After seeing action in the Gallipoli campaign in Turkey from September 1915 to January 1916, the regiment was withdrawn and the Newfoundlanders sent to the Western Front in France in the spring of 1916. Following the opening battles of 1914, the First World War in Western Europe quickly bogged down into trench warfare, with opposing armies dug in, facing one another from a complex series of trenches across a blasted no man's land, defended by lookouts, barbed wire, and guns. Artillery, snipers, grenades, mines, machine guns, and sickness took a great toll. The generals could see only one way to end the stalemate. Bru- Sorry. The generals could only see one way to end the stalemate: brutal frontal assaults in the face of intense fire to break the enemy defenses. The Allied plan for 1916 was to make the big push, and the Somme was chosen as the site for a joint French and British assault. It would be on the first day of the Battle of the Somme, near the village of Beaumont-Hamel in northern France, that the Newfoundland Regiment would enter the action. At 7:30 a.m. on July 1, thousands of British and French troops began their advance across no man's land in broad daylight toward the German positions to open the Battle of the Somme. The result would be slaughter. More than 57,000 British and Commonwealth soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing, the heaviest combat losses ever suffered by the British Army in a single day. The sector of the front at Beaumont-Hamel, where the Newfoundland Regiment would see action, was supposed to be taken by surprise, but the Germans knew the attack was coming. In addition, the initial Allied bombardment failed to damage most of the German defenses. At about 9:15 a.m., the Newfoundlanders, forming part of the 29th British Division, attacked from a support trench nicknamed St. John's Road. They advanced from this trench, which was actually behind the front lines because of the sheer number of soldiers involved in earlier attacks, who were dead or wounded and clogging the front trenches. This meant that the Newfoundlanders had to traverse more than 200 meters before they even made it to the Allies' own front line. Once they made it to no man's land, they were then expected to cross through tangles of barbed wire to reach the enemy trenches more than 500 meters away. As the Newfoundlanders advanced towards the enemy, there was three part way down. Sorry, let's try that again. As the Newfoundlanders advanced towards the enemy, there was a tree part way down the slope that marked the spot where German fire seemed to become particularly intense. This gnarled tree was nicknamed the Danger Tree by the Newfoundland troops, and it marked the spot where many of them would fall that morning. As they walked into the hail of machine gun and artillery fire, it was said that many of them tucked their chins in, almost like they were walking into the teeth of a blizzard back home. But this time it was not snow flying all around them. The Newfoundland Regiment would be practically decimated in less than half an hour of intense German fire. July 1 would only be the first day of more than 4 brutal months of fighting during the Battle of the Somme, a campaign in which Canada would also see significant action. By the time it was all over, the Allies would have more than 650,000 soldiers killed, wounded, missing, or taken prisoner, and both the Allies and the Germans would each lose about 200,000 lives. For this incredible cost, the Allies moved the front line forward about 10 kilometers. The losses sustained by the Newfoundland Regiment at Beaumont-Hamel on July 1, 1916 were staggering. Of the some 800 Newfoundlanders who went into battle that morning, only 68 were able to answer the roll call the next day. With more than 700 killed, wounded, or missing, the dead included 14 sets of brothers, including 4 lieutenants from the Eyre family of St. John's. The Newfoundlanders' sacrifice did not go unnoticed on the front lines. The commander of the 29th British Division said of the actions of the Newfoundland Regiment on that July morning, quote, "It was a magnificent display of trained and disciplined valor, and its assault only failed of success because dead men can advance no further." The Newfoundland Regiment would be practically wiped out, but the survivors would continue to see action in the fighting and reinforcements would come to help rebuild the regiment. The regiment would go on to earn the official designation Royal from the British Crown in recognition of its gallant actions in battles at Ypres and Cambrai later in the war, the only unit of the British Army to earn that distinction during the war years. By the end of the war, more than 6,200 Newfoundlanders had served in its ranks, with more than 1,300 of them losing their lives and another 2,500 being wounded or taken prisoner. The loss of so many young lives compounded by the number of wounded, disabled, and sick who returned to Newfoundland after the war would have a significant impact on the colony for many years afterward. The incredible sacrifices of the men of the Newfoundland Regiment at Beaumont-Hamel still echo in Newfoundland and Labrador. The citizens of the province paused July 1 to remember those who gave so much to help protect the peace and freedom people in our country enjoy today. As one of the most striking First World War memorials in Europe, the Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial in France stands as a monument to those from the Dominion who gave their lives in the First World War. The site is one of the few where visitors can see a Great War battlefield, much as it was, its artillery craters and trenches left untouched after the war. The danger tree eventually decayed and has been replaced several times over the past 100 years. In 2026, Memorial University of Newfoundland created a danger tree replica based on historical images. Installed in June 2026, the replica stands on the spot where many brave Newfoundlanders fell on that tragic morning. The danger tree is a permanent reminder of the great courage and sacrifice seen that day. The monument of the great bronze caribou, emblem of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, stands on the highest point overlooking the former battlefield. At the base of the statue, 3 bronze tablets bear the names of more than 800 Newfoundlanders who died in the war and have no known grave. So there you go, kids and cubs, a little history of Beaumont-Hamel. And yes, not part of Canada at the time were the Newfoundlanders, but now that they are, of course, we recognize this part of their history, and that is why they also celebrate Memorial Day when we celebrate Canada Day. I'm sure they celebrate Canada Day too, of course. But they have 2 different things to mark on this particular day here. See if there's a little bit more on Memorial Day here. And yes, has been observed annually since July 1st, 1917, to recall the losses of approximately 700 soldiers of the 1st Newfoundland Regiment from the Dominion of Newfoundland at Beaumont-Hamel on the first day of the Somme during the First World War. Since the induction of Newfoundland into Canada in 1949, Memorial Day has been amalgamated to commemorate the wartime sacrifices of members of the armed forces of the Canadian province, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's observed concurrently with Canada's national holiday, Canada Day. So there you go. So a little bit of history to start off the show, because we like history and it's important to know it, especially so that we don't make it rhyme, right? Other things that we want to look at today, since we're talking about all things Canada, little interesting things having to do with Canadian citizenship. There was a group of Canadians that were considered lost Canadians because the way that we were counting basically generations and who was Canadian and who wasn't kind of left them out for all intents and purposes, has to do with citizenship by descent. And there were laws that were changed recently in order to be able to recognize them. Um, let's see here if I can get some information here. This is from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. It says here that on January 1st, 1947, the Canadian Citizenship Act came into force, marking the beginning of Canadian citizenship as a legal status, establishing three ways to acquire a Canadian citizenship: by birth on soil, if a person was born in Canada; by naturalization, if a person immigrated to Canada and acquired Canadian citizenship status; and by descent, if a person was born outside Canada, they could derive citizenship from a Canadian citizen parent. A new Citizenship Act was introduced in 1977, which maintained the three ways to acquire Canadian citizenship. Amendments to the Citizenship Act came into force on April 17, 2009, including the introduction of a first-generation limit to citizenship by descent, which means that a Canadian citizen parent can pass on citizenship to a child born outside of Canada if that parent was either one, born in Canada, or two, naturalized before the birth of their child. As a result of the first generation limit, generally Canadian citizens who were born outside of Canada cannot pass on citizenship to their child born outside of Canada and cannot apply for a direct grant of citizenship for a child born outside of Canada and adopted by them. And 2009, of course, was the Harper years. So this was created under them. This created a category called Lost Canadians, which was a term that originally referred to individuals who lost or never acquired Canadian citizenship due to outdated provisions, either sex, marital status, place of birth, naturalization status, which affected whether that person could derive, acquire, or lose Canadian citizenship. In 1977, the Citizenship Act changed those outdated rules, but those who had already lost or never acquired Canadian citizenship were not remedied. Most of these cases were remedied by legislative amendments that were implemented in 2009 and 2015, except persons born abroad to a Canadian parent in the second or subsequent generation who acquired citizenship at birth but did not apply to retain their citizenship, or applied but were not successful on their application before turning 28 as required under the former Section 8 of the 1977 Citizenship Act. Section 8, that was Lost Canadians, was repealed on April 17, 2009 and replaced with the first generation limit. So that's what Stephen Harper did. But those born between February 15, 1977 and April 16, 1981, who had already turned 28 years old by 2009, had lost their citizenship and were not restored. While most were remedied in 2009 and 2015, their descendants born abroad in the second or subsequent generations were excluded from citizenship by descent because of the first generation limit. On December 19, 2023, Ontario Superior Court of Justice declared that key provisions setting out the first generation limit are unconstitutional. The government did not appeal the ruling. So, once again, Stephen Harper government passed a law that was deemed unconstitutional and was overturned. And even though Stephen Harper was out of office sometime in 2015, I believe it is, or was it 2016? I can't remember now off the top of my head, but around there. It took until December 19, 2023 for an Ontario Superior Court to decide that. Justice delayed is not only justice denied, it is justice diminished, as we say. Fortunately, the current government did not appeal the ruling. The court's decision included a 6-month suspension of the declaration of invalidity. Let's try that. Invalidity? Yes, there we go. That's the correct pronunciation. I was thinking about it in French. The court's decision included a 6-month suspension of the declaration of invalidity to allow the government time to introduce remedial legislation. The court has subsequently granted a series of extensions. The last request for extension was denied. Legislation is needed as the court's decision has struck down key provisions of the first generation limit, which means that absent a revised framework, Canadian citizenship for many would be passed on in perpetuity to future generations born outside of Canada, regardless of their connection to Canada. Additionally, the court declaration does not apply equally to all. It does not strike down the first generation limit for persons born abroad or adopted by a Canadian parent, doesn't restore citizenship to Section 8 Lost Canadians, and it does not provide citizenship to some persons born abroad beyond the first generation before April 1st, 1949. To respond to Bjorkquist, which was the case, Bjorkquist et al., which was the case in which that went to the Ontario Supreme Court in 2023. To respond to that decision, the government introduced former Bill C-71, an act to amend the Citizenship Act, on May 23rd, 2024, which died on the order paper with prorogation of Parliament. The government filed a third request for a further extension of time, 12 months after the prorogation of Parliament removed any possibility of Bill C-71 coming into force before March 19th, 2025. The hearing took place on March 13th, 2025. The suspension of the declaration of invalidity was extended to April 25th, 2025. However, the judge issued orders requiring the government to provide additional evidence of the proposed expanded interim measure by April 2nd, 2025, and further legal arguments by April 4th, 2025. The hearing uh, there was a hearing scheduled for April 11th, 2025, to address the additional submissions, which was to be followed by a decision on the overall extension time request, which I believe uh, that one is the one that was ultimately denied, and they told the court that the court told the government that they just needed to get on with it and fix it. Go take a look if I can see that here. Um, mm, It's not an appeal request, it's an extension request. I don't know if we see. So yes, the government did receive the fourth extension. But yes, so they did receive the fourth extension a year ago. And then I believe that they may have asked for another one this April. And that one would have been denied, given that they had been given an extra year. So, what happened is that the government started acting on this, and then there was some news that came out around June 16th that some lost Canadians that had received their new citizenship certificates had been asked to surrender them again. According to Nadine Yusuf, a senior Canada reporter from BBC, says a number of Americans who recently received proof of Canadian citizenship are being asked to surrender their new certificates pending further review, sparking confusion and disappointment among those affected and their lawyers. Letters sent by Canada's Immigration Ministry and shared with the BBC state that recipients, quote, may not be entitled to their certificates of citizenship and asked for them to be returned. The letters were sent to an unknown number of people who obtained citizenship via an ancestral tie to Canada under a law enacted in December. In a statement to the BBC, an Immigration Ministry spokesperson confirmed, quote, a limited number of files are being reviewed. The review, quote, concerns the processing of individual cases, the spokesperson said, and that those who receive surrender letters will have the opportunity to provide additional evidence to support their citizenship case. Quote, if the review confirms that the individual is entitled to the certificate, it will be returned, the spokesperson said. Sean Davis Mooney, who recently relocated permanently from California to Victoria, British Columbia with his husband, was alarmed when he received his letter. Quote, it has devastated me beyond imagination, he said. Mooney applied for Canadian citizenship after the so-called Lost Canadians law came into effect late last year. With the help of a lawyer, he said he submitted 114 pages of documents showing a great-great-grandparent was born in the province of New Brunswick. He was approved for urgent processing and granted a citizenship certificate in February, he said. Now he's unsure of his status in Canada. I had to read the letter 3 times, he said. I couldn't understand it. The letter signed by the Registrar of Canadian Citizenship, Peggy Sun, stated that his citizenship certificate may be revoked because he failed to provide the right documentation. Mooney said the letter left him and his lawyers confused. He maintained that his application was exhaustive. Quote, the worst part is it's making us feel like frauds or we've done something wrong, he said. The letter also states the status of his citizenship is under review. The letter is identical to others posted online or shared with the BBC by other recipients. Rana Charon, who lives in Cleveland, Ohio, said she applied for Canadian citizenship using census records that proved her great-great-grandmother was French-Canadian and from Quebec, as no birth certificate or baptismal records were available from that time. Her application was approved, she said, and she received a physical copy of her Canadian citizenship certificate earlier this month. Now she said she's preparing to send it back. Quote, I was very excited to be formally Canadian, she said. Growing up, my family was very aware of our Canadian heritage. It mattered a lot to me. Being asked to surrender her citizenship certificate, Sharon added, is one of the largest disappointments I've had in my life. The letters were shocking to Lisa Middlemiss, a Montreal immigration lawyer. Quote, only in very rare circumstances can the government revoke citizenship, Middlemiss said, adding that those receiving the surrender letters are people who have already gone through the appropriate process as set out by Canada's immigration laws. It sends such a it sends such a bad message for Canada, she said. Canada received more than 12,000 applications in the first month and a half after the Lost Canadians law was enacted. Most citizenship applications were granted for people born in the US, according to government data reported on by the CBC, with the next mostly like, sorry, let's try that again. I am very much having trouble today reading. Most citizenship applications were granted for people born in the US, according to government data reported on by CBC, with the next mostly likely to be approved were applicants born in Mexico and the UK. Information about denied applications are not currently publicly available. In its statement, Canada's Immigration Ministry said each application was reviewed by, quote, trained officers before certificates were granted. However, it added that if it is reviewing Let's try that again. However, it added that it is reviewing these affected files to ensure they are assessed fairly, consistently, and in accordance with the law. Sharon said she still intends to see her case through, but added it has made her distrustful of Canada. Sharon said she still intends to see her case through, but added it has made her distrustful of Canada's citizenship processes. If they can just yank that back, what's going to stop them from doing it 10 years from now or two? I am having trouble today. If they can just yank that back, what's going to stop them from doing it 2 years from now or 10 years from now when people have really settled down and put roots? I am so sorry, kits and cubs. I do not know what's wrong with me today. My eyes keep on going further in the text than my mouth is talking, and then I say the wrong word and I just screw up my reading. I will try to do better. So that happened. And then we got something from David Baxter from the Canadian Press on June 22nd that says something similar here. Just 1 week after some lost Canadians were told to surrender their new I am having trouble. Just 1 week after some lost Canadians were told to surrender their new citizenship certificates, a few received letters over the weekend confirming their citizenship claims are valid once again. The Immigration Department has said it sent letters earlier this month to a few dozen people who received citizenship under Canada's citizenship by descent law, demanding they surrender their proof of citizenship pending further review. Bridget Burnett received one of those letters, along with her mother and son. She said all three received emails from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada on Saturday saying their citizenship is valid again. Quote, it was just so much joy and relief. My mom literally cried off and on for like 8 hours. She was just so overcome with relief and joy again, the same as when she received her certificate initially, Burnett said from her current home in Colorado. Canada's citizenship by descent law changed on December 15, 2025, allowing people born before that date to claim Canadian citizenship if they can prove direct lineage to a Canadian ancestor generation by generation. A spokesperson for the minister's office said last week said that about 4,100 people had been confirmed as Canadian citizenships. Oh my God. A spokesperson for the minister's office said last week that about 4,100 people have been confirmed as Canadian citizens under this amendment to the law since it took effect. Many of those making citizenship claims under this new rule are Americans. Burnett received a new email from the Immigration Department on Saturday morning, which said her citizenship had been reconfirmed after a thorough review of her case. The email also says the order to surrender Burnett's citizenship certificate on June 13 was made after the department reviewed the documents she submitted as part of her application. Burnett said a department agent she spoke to on Friday was unable to shed any light on why her file and those of her family members were placed under review. Quote, they never asked me for additional documentation or clarification. I did call them again on Friday and spoke to another worker on the phone, and he was so compassionate again and really tried to help get some sort of answers for me or clarification, but was really in the dark and not able to provide any guidance, she said. Even though it wasn't fruitful, it was nice to talk to a person at IRCC and have them be responsive and supportive, but also hard that he seemed just as confused. Immigration Minister Lena Diab and her department have not said exactly what led to the citizenship reviews in the first place. The minister has said that evidence pulled from websites like Ancestry.ca is not sufficient to prove citizenship by descent, and applicants must submit verified, authenticated documents. Once again, Immigration Minister Lena Diab one of the people that many are suggesting and have been suggesting for a long time, should a shuffle come from this government, would probably be first on the list to be shuffled out because it's just not working for her on this file. And this is another example of that, unfortunately, because if you're going to put out uh, information that's saying, hey, congratulations, you're now a citizen of Canada, and whoops, no, maybe not, and not explain why, how this came to be, that's unacceptable. The Prime Minister was recently asked at a press conference whether or not he thought that that was acceptable and whether or not somebody should be getting answers on that. And the Prime Minister was didn't need a 3-minute answer to answer that one. He just said, yes, they should be getting a better answer as to why this happened. And that was pretty much all he had to say. That yes, they should be getting a better answer. So there still seems to be some mystery here, but yes, I'm guessing if some people did say, well, I found it on ancestry.ca or ancestry.com, that yeah, you might want a little bit more. But then again, somebody might want to ask them if information submitted was only coming from ancestry.ca or ancestry.com, why was that not picked up earlier? What was wrong in our process? Burnett said she shared a copy of certified census records that showed her great grandfather was Canadian as part of her citizenship claim. The Immigration Department has been notifying individuals whose citizenship is under review that their certificates are no longer valid and must be returned. Recipients of these letters are being told they have 15 days to do so. They're also being told that their eligibility for a Canadian passport can be reassessed if their citizenship claim is validated. Burnett had not yet applied for a Canadian passport when she received the initial citizenship surrender letter. Now she and her family are feeling more at ease as they prepare to move from Colorado to Vancouver Island this week, where she plans to relaunch her psychology practice. She told the Canadian press the U.S. healthcare system is going through a lot of changes, especially regarding care for women, and Canada feels more stable. Burnett said even as she gets ready to start a new life in British Columbia, she worries about her citizenship being placed under review again. Quote, I'm very excited and I feel very welcomed by the community I'm moving to on Vancouver Island, but there's still going to be part of me, I think, that will always wonder if this is real or if they're going to revoke again or suspend again, she said. And indeed, I can understand why people would be concerned as a result. Um, let's see if there's anything else. Um, and I guess the latest article is from June 30th, which was yesterday. It says Immigration Department suspends citizenship for 67 lost Canadians as it reviews its program. So we're down from 4,100 that were accepted in total, um, down to 67, it would appear. But let's read more about this to find out. This is Campbell McDermott. The federal government suspended 67 citizenship certificates issued under its Lost Canadians legislation while acknowledging that its guidance on acceptable documentation had been, quote, unclear. Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada reviewed all of the approximately 6,500 applications it received for citizenship by descent after Bill C-3 passed late last year, the department said on Tuesday. As a result of the review, the department found that guidance on acceptable documentation for both officers and applicants was unclear and may have contributed to certificates being issued without sufficient evidence. CBC News reported on the suspensions 2 weeks ago, but until now, the government had declined to say exactly how many certificates were affected. The 67 suspended certificates represent roughly 1% of total certificates issued under C3 to date, IRCC said. The department said it is now confirming their eligibility or requesting additional information. Thousands of people around the world, half of whom who are American, received Canadian citizenship as a result of the change, allowing applications from those with verifiable Canadian ancestry. Prior to Bill C-3, Canadian citizenship by descent was limited to the first generation born or adopted outside Canada to a Canadian citizen. That limitation was struck down by the courts as unconstitutional. In a news conference last week, Immigration Minister Lena Diab said she had told her department to investigate when she became aware that something had happened to trigger a wave of citizenship document recalls. Something. had happened. What? Diab would not specify what led to this review, but said IRCC was temporarily pausing applications pending an audit. Quote, "We are not finalizing any new applications, and all applications are being reviewed," she said. "Those that are deemed to be okay are being told you are fine." IRCC now says it has initially identified sorry. IRCC now says it had initially identified 100 citizenship certificates issued under C3 with potentially insufficient supporting documentation, prompting the review of all applications. A third of those certificates were automatically reinstated upon confirming that the applicant met the legal requirement for citizenship, it said. To ensure adequate documentation is submitted in the future, the IRCC said it now, quote, has reinforced guidance to our officers and provided clearer information for applicants about what documentation is required from them in this process. What would be really good is if they could clear up what was unclear in the application process. What did they change specifically so that they could let us know what was wrong? So I'm getting the impression that it may have been, like was mentioned, information from ancestry.ca or ancestry.com was taken and deemed to be suitable, even though it wasn't. And that would be somewhat embarrassing to admit, but it seems it would be a lot less embarrassing uh, to say, "Oops, we got it wrong. We got this is what we got wrong specifically, and this is how we fixed it," than to say, "Oops, something went wrong, but we're working on it, and now we're fixing it," without saying what, how specifically it was fixed. Very interesting. Um, I may have slightly uh, misinformed you because, according to what I read in that article here, it says that Bill C3 did pass at some point last year. It took effect December 2025. So I'm guessing that I have no idea what happened there, kits and cubs. The countdown just started on its own. It wasn't even on the page. Um, oh, I think I know what happened. Um, we have a guest who has shown up. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Trying something here. It's not working out very well. I've got another camera that I'm
Okay.
I'm recording with, and I was trying to connect it to the phone with the new camera, but apparently it's not working. And then the headset cut out, and the camera went crazy. And anyway, whatever. It is what it is. But I had to take
Well,
the queen out, the empress.
yes, indeed.
So I thought I'd join you for a bit. I meant to join when you started, but she was whining. I had to do stuff. Anyway, yeah. So hopping in on Canada Day. Got the traditional. Hold on here, if I can get the Lola. Settle down. Traditional earring in. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, yes, I see it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, gimbal camera here, but it's not connecting to the phone the way I wanted it to for some reason. So yeah, here we are.
All right. How's your mental health today, my friend?
You know, I'm in a serious state of depression, but I'm happy. Right. So,
Okay.
you can be happy and still have serious depression at the same time. And that's currently me. So, yeah. How about
All
yourself?
right. Feeling a little overwhelmed, to be a little honest. There's been a lot going on, but also overall happy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my favorite
Yeah.
day of the
Just
year.
yeah. Second favorite day of the year for me,
Yeah,
of
I know.
course.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great day. How hot? We were thinking of
It,
going to Ottawa today, and then we saw the weather and said it was going to feel like 42 at some point today, and we said,
yeah,
no, we're we're not going to trap
It's
on that.
currently about 30, I think, at the moment, with humidex, and it's going to get really. It's Canada Day is either the hottest or the coldest day of the year.
Right. Right. Oh
So currently,
man.
it's super hot out.
Jeez. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm doing I might go out this evening to say something, but I'm doing a lip stare conditioner press firmly day. I'm
Okay,
schwitzing just sitting. I'm schwitzing just sitting in front of like the light. It's really hot in this room.
I understand that all too well. Okay, I'm going to jump off because this is not cooperating with me very well. So I will. I'll join you in a bit once I get Lola back in the house.
All right. Thanks for popping in.
Okay, we'll see you later.
See you later. Well, whoops. There we go. Well, that explains why the countdown started. Mr. Grizzly was in the control room. There you go. Kit Linda saying humidex is 43 degrees Celsius right now, where she is. Yeah, I know. That's just, oh my God. Yikes. Very, very, very hot day. So yeah, that's what's going on with lost Canadians here. Hopefully that will get resolved, but it's now looking like it's just 67 applications specifically that have been affected or that are currently needing to be confirmed, which is not a ridiculous number, but still if you want your citizenship and immigration processes to have credibility, you really can't make these types of errors. And when you do, you have to have a better explanation other than something went wrong. So, again, uh, not the best performance, unfortunately, by our Minister of Immigration on that. But hopefully that will be resolved and we will have a whole lot. Well, we are having some new Canadians joining our family. Just going to take a look at its passage if there was anything there. Was in November 25 that I guess it was adopted by the Senate and then came into effect in December 2025. This is from a site that's called Senate GRO. I'm not as familiar with it as I should be. And this says, okay, yes, the government representative's office in the Senate, which is responsible for both shepherding the government's legislation through the Senate in a timely manner and championing renewal in the changing institution. So this is indeed a reliable source. Says here, this was back from November 2025. Government legislation to extend access to citizenship by descent beyond the first generation has become law after being adopted in the Senate. Bill C3 responded to a December 2023 Ontario Superior Court ruling that found that limiting citizenship by descent to the first generation born abroad contravened mobility and equality rights in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The term lost Canadians has generally been used to describe those who lost or never acquired citizenship due to certain outdated provisions of former citizenship legislation, Senator Mary Coyle said during her second reading speech on November 6th. Quote, Bill C3 is a reasonable response to the court's declaration. It affirms the right to citizenship as conferred under this bill can't come with arbitrary restrictions. It strikes an important balance ensuring fair access while protecting the value of Canadian citizenship. Bill C3 automatically grants citizenship by descent to all those born abroad to a Canadian parent before the coming into force date of the legislation. A new framework for those born after the coming into force date would require a Canadian parent to have 1,095 cumulative days of physical presence in Canada, roughly 3 years, in order to grant citizenship by descent. Quote, as a Nova Scotian who has spent much of my career working with communities in Canada and around the world, I have seen how belonging, identity, and citizenship shapes people's lives, Senator Coyle said. I have heard from families who carry Canada in their hearts, whether they live in Antigonish, Edmonton, Botswana, or Bolivia. Their experiences remind us that citizenship is about more than paperwork. It's about connection. It's both a privilege and a profound bond. For many of those we are talking about today, it's actually a right. And the legislation received royal assent on November 20th, and then, as we mentioned, came into effect in December of 2025. So I am guessing that when I was talking about the extension, that when they applied in April of 2025, they were given that 1 year extension, and they were able to get that done in the time frame this time around. So no rejected request for extensions, as I had suspected. So I must have been remembering something else at that time when it happened. We mentioned yesterday that the Prime Minister had named the Honorable Glendy Joyal to the Supreme Court of Canada. This was the nomination took place on June 22nd, 2026. So we talked about that. It seems that yesterday was the day that the appointment became confirmed. It says here, with a distinguished career spanning more than 25 years on the bench, Justice Royal most recently served as Chief Justice of the Court of King's Bench in Manitoba. Throughout his career, he has worked to improve access to justice, modernize court operations, and advance reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Justice Royal is a recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal and the King Charles III Coronation Medal. In 2025, he was recognized as a jurist of Robson Hall by the University of Manitoba Faculty of Law for his extraordinary service and commitment to the legal community. As part of the Government of Canada's commitment to openness, transparency, and accountability, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights held a special hearing on the nomination of Justice Royal, who also participated in a question and answer session with parliamentarians. Justice Royal fills the vacancy created by the retirement of Justice Sheila Martin. And there is a quick biographical note about Justice Royal here. It says that prior to his appointment to the bench, Justice Royal practiced primarily in criminal law, constitutional law, and civil litigation. He served as a Crown Attorney with Manitoba Justice, as a Federal Crown Counsel with the Department of Justice Canada, and as an associate with the Winnipeg law firm Walsh, Pinks, Tapper, and Scurfield. He's a past member of l'Association des juristes d'expression française du Manitoba, which is French-speaking, the Association of French-Speaking Jurists of Manitoba. He is fluent in English, French, and Italian. Throughout his career, Justice Royal has contributed to initiatives aimed at improving the efficiency of court operations, expanding access to justice, and modernizing the delivery of court services. He has also supported efforts to advance reconciliation and strengthen the relationship between the justice system and Indigenous peoples. Until his appointment to the Supreme Court of Canada, Justice Royal sat on the Executive Committee of the Canadian Judicial Council and served as the Council's first vice chair. He also chaired its Judicial Conduct Committee. Justice Royal is the recipient of the Queen of Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal and the King Charles III Coronation Medal. In 2025, he was recognized as a jurist of Robson Hall by the University of Manitoba Faculty of Law for his extraordinary service and commitment to the legal community, which we read in the previous note. Justice Royal pursued his undergraduate and graduate studies at Simon Fraser University, McGill University, Paris-Sorbonne University, the University of Manitoba, and Oxford University. Only the Paris-Sorbonne and only Oxford University. Yes, just doesn't come qualified at all. Jeez. He was admitted to the bar of Manitoba in 1987. Where do they keep on getting this huge list of overachievers in Canada? I swear. Wow. So clearly eminently qualified for the position and very well educated in all matters that have to do with the law. Certainly a great appointment, and certainly, as is the case in Canada, one of the big differences between Canada and the United States is that most of us have no idea who our justices of the Supreme Court are or who nominated them, and that's exactly how it should be. I was reading something the other day that says that politics is supposed to be boring. It's not supposed to be entertainment, right? It's policy, it's process, it's debate, it's good order, and all that kind of stuff. It's not supposed to be something where we're getting all these political stars that come up. It's supposed to be boring and bland and yawn-inducing because it's process. I wouldn't mind going back to politics that are a little bit more boring, to be totally honest. Ooh, we've had the other kind for too long, and yeah, I like boring. I have to say I like boring. I was very happy when politics was boring. I was no less a junkie. But definitely happier when it was a little less exciting, a little less entertainment. Um, Prime Minister also uh, put out another one of his videos where he is talking to Canadians, um, videos that he was going to call forward guidance. This one was more about the subject of our energy future, because, as you know, over the past couple of months, the Prime Minister had a huge announcement on, for example, the electricity grid, right? Wanting to double our ability to produce energy by 2050. And talking about the fact that electrification really is our future. Um, in I wanted to just bring a couple of moments of that where he's talking about electrification specifically uh, from the forward guidance. This one is not as exciting, clearly, as the first one, and isn't as broad in scope because we are talking specifically about here the crossroads of the affordability crisis, the security crisis, and the climate crisis, and how that affects energy. Um, so maybe not as much mass appeal as a general one, where we're talking about generally how Canada's going. This is very issue specific. So, in that sense, perhaps not, um, it won't get as many views as the initial one. However, for those of us who are very much interested in the subject, it has the same level of depth and clarity, and someone having a fireside chat with us, so to speak, about a specific topic that is bringing us along what the path is, what the plan is, and all that kind of stuff. So, all the elements from the first one that made it so good are there, right? It just might not get as big a reaction because anybody who is not watching this to just get an update on how Canada is doing or cares more about pocketbook issues specifically might not be looking to this particular video to get that type of information. And in addition, given that Prime Minister Mark Carney just gave us a long progress report, I think that press availability was almost 50 minutes just a couple of days ago when we went into that. There might be fewer people seeing a need to engage with this particular um, material. But if you are concerned about the energy future and how it is that we are doing it and how we're getting there, this video is definitely, um, in terms of content, depth of content, getting real answers to your questions, that type of stuff. It has all the stuff that was as good in this one that was the case in the first one. Um, Prime Minister talks about, again, right, the things that we can control, and the good news in the world of, of instability is that we can control our future, but it will require, as he mentions often, doing things differently, moving faster, building bigger, working together. And he says nowhere is that more the case than energy, that today we're faced with the types of decisions that come once every few generations, but that will determine our future for decades. Our independence and sustainability and prosperity will depend crucially on our ability to supply and control our energy. So he basically is says that we face an energy crisis on three levels. One, the affordability crisis, right? Because energy prices have been spiking due to a whole bunch of things that have been going on around the world: conflict, coercion, climate crisis, all that type of stuff. And he says that we need an energy transition that will really work. And that, again, more good news is that we have solutions. Um, he goes back and looks at our past a little bit in terms of how we got here, talks a lot about Adam Beck, a historical figure in Canada who harnessed the power of the Niagara River to provide affordable energy that Canada's booming industrial heartland needed to thrive. And at that time, it was an 18-story project that was the largest generating station in the world. And it created a model that gave Ontario affordable, clean power for decades. And that led to hydroelectricity growing across Canada, with major projects in Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and British Columbia. And for many of those provinces, a very healthy share, and for some of them, even the overwhelming majority of the share of the electricity they generate is hydro, and therefore clean energy. Um, then, of course, um, talks about uh, having created a nuclear industry as well. And recently, Minister Tim Hodgson came to the cameras and gave us some information about how Canada plans to, as he puts it, engage or enter into a new sort of renaissance when it comes to nuclear, with a plan, I think it is, to build 10 more reactors, I believe, as well as some small modular reactors, and as well as to export more can do nuclear capacity and knowledge, and generating units, energy generating units, to countries around the world. But in this forward guidance, there's a little bit where he talks about conventional energy, and particularly Alberta. So I wanted to bring this part to light because um, the Prime Minister today, for Canada Day, is going to be doing some stuff in Ottawa, but it will also be going to Edmonton. And this is on the eve. It seems that there might have been an embargoed event that happened yesterday with regards to Alberta. And it was announced that tomorrow, Danielle Smith will be making some type of announcement with regard to the, well, first the MOU, now the implementation agreement for the pipeline, the new pipeline, bitumen pipeline that she wants going to the West Coast. Of course, she's supposed to find a private proponent for this. News is letting us know that she's probably not going to be announcing that tomorrow, which is very odd because that would be the third time now that the government of Alberta violates the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding and Agreement with regard to what's expected of it. But we'll see what she is planning to do. Fortunately, she didn't do it the day before Canada Day, and to give the Prime Minister something to respond to today, because today should not be about that. But let's look a little bit here what is said about the situation in Alberta.
Beer industry. Albertans invented and harnessed the technologies needed to harvest the oil sands. We developed our gas reserves, and we began building renewable energy right across the country. It hasn't always been good news. I was a teenager in Edmonton when the National Energy Program was introduced, and I remember how Ottawa made Albertans feel like our resources weren't our own. And then more recently, we're made to feel that our energy contributions were running against the tides of history. What should have brought us together began to divide us, contributing to a half-century of politics that have too often pulled us apart. I've acted as Prime Minister to the best of my abilities to help put those divisions in the past by focusing on what we can build together for the future. From my perspective, there is no more important goal than a strong, united country working together in our common interests. Canada Strong means coming together in the face of external pressures. I don't want to know what people are against, but what they're for. How we can act with overwhelming force to build the best possible future drawing on the very many resources that we're blessed with. Here's what that means for dealing with the threefold energy crisis that I just described. First, when it comes to the affordability crisis, the hard truth is that we don't control the price of oil. So what we're doing is helping Canadians through tough times in the short term. When the Iran war started, we suspended the federal gas tax for the summer. Now, it won't solve the problem because we don't control the source of the problem. But this and other supports are making a difference for millions of people struggling to make ends meet. As I will discuss in a moment, our laser focus on affordability also means we're using all of our energy resources as we build massive clean power for the economy of the future. Second, addressing energy security means we're going to produce our conventional oil and gas in the most environmentally sustainable ways and export them to where they will make the biggest difference. The truth is, nobody knows how long the global economy will rely on conventional energy. But while it does, as much of that energy as possible should come from Canada, produced responsibly and with a clear focus on lowering emissions over time. It's important to know that the global oil shock is happening even though Canada is producing far more oil than we ever have. In fact, only 2 countries have increased oil production more than we have this century: the United States and Russia. Most of our production has been for export, and almost all of those exports have gone to one country, the United States. The US pays a discount for Canadian oil in part because it's been pretty much our only customer. That started to change last year when the new Trans Mountain pipeline came online. For the first time, we have direct access from our West Coast to fast-growing Asian markets. That gives us a better price for our oil and more resources to support Canadians. It's also why we're developing options for a second oil pipeline to the West Coast. And it's why we are building a series of projects to export low-carbon, liquefied natural gas to partners in Asia and Europe. As I said last time, our heavy reliance on the US market was once a strength, but it's now a vulnerability. Put simply, we now need to build energy infrastructure to give ourselves more options. And those new options will be an important source of our strength, and they will help make our partners less vulnerable to conflicts. So much so that the G7 endorsed our strategy when it met recently in France.
All right. So I'll stop that there for the current moment. So you can see Kits and Cubs, Prime Minister here, referring to the days of the National Energy Program, not going into it, but seeming to acknowledge the Albertan impression that it seemed that there was indeed an issue there with regard to ownership. There is still lots of debate today, particularly with what we've seen happen recently, as to whether or not, had we gone forward with the energy program back in the day, whether or not we would have had an easier time dealing with the more recent situations after the after Russia, Putin, invaded the rest of Ukraine beyond Crimea and tried to make it work, and what's going on right now with the war on Iran. There have even been some people musing aloud that a lot of the proposals that the Conservatives have been advancing of late are very similar to that which were in the National Energy Program. I do not have the expertise personally to be able to tell you how much of that is true or not. So I'm hoping to be able to get more information on that over time, that I could speak to that a little more eloquently. But that I don't know. I do not have the ability to tell you who's given us the BS or who's given us the full truth on that. I'm going to guess, simply because of the exhibited bad faith over an extended period of time of the pro-oil sector. I was going to say petrosexual here, but but of the petrosexual sector, that their version of the tale might be a little, as Danielle Smith would call it, overwrought and emotional. However, right, what were the real implications really, and would it have been better in certain cases, worse in certain cases? And if, looking at it now with 40 years of distance or so, would it have been good ultimately, knowing what we know now? I would love to see an article or an analysis from that perspective. Looking back, did we make the right decision there? But yes, as Kit Saucy says, we need an electricity and stable grid. Now's the time to prepare. Yesterday would have been better. And the things like, for example, connecting all the various provincial grids to make sure that we can supply each other when we have brownouts, and trying to find a way to introduce some form of nuclear to Alberta, which has been relatively resistant to it, produce a lot of their electricity by burning gas. And hopefully that could make some changes along with the additional interties between the various systems. And that was all part of what the Prime Minister was talking about when he was talking about his electrification strategy that we talked about several weeks ago. And we will be getting into that here next on this show here. But yes, but in there also talking, when he's talking to Albertans about, Canada being one of the only two countries that has still been increasing its production, right? Which is a counter to the argument that is being stated that Canada has been trying to strangle or choke or stifle or kill the industry in Alberta, which is not the case, clearly, given the amount of product coming out of the ground at the moment. And of course, talking about wanting to build the second bitumen pipeline, and plus all the oil and gas, not the oil and gas, the gas projects, LNG projects specifically, that are either now operational, under construction, or in the process of hopefully being approved. Then he mentions, of course, affordability and security specifically, were important pillars. And then he gets to his third uh, element, which is electrification. And basically, the thinking here is that the future of Canada in terms of energy is electrification, electrification, electrification. And the Prime Minister goes in to why that is the case here.
Now, thirdly, we're recognizing that while we have no control over the price of oil, we have a lot of control over the price of our electricity. And this makes the issue, for me, a simple one. We can't allow the ability to power our lives and put food on our table to be forever at the mercy of outside forces. We need affordable, homegrown energy, and a lot of it. Our answer to domestic energy affordability, security, and sustainability is the same answer as Sir Adam Beck's: to power our way to a stronger, more resilient, more independent country that works for all. Because the path to affordability is electrification. The path to competitiveness is electrification. The path to sustainability is electrification. Through our new national electricity strategy, we'll build quickly and at scale to double our energy infrastructure and build a strong Canada that is powered by clean, affordable, and reliable energy. And through our complementary nuclear energy strategy, we will build on Canada's standing as one of the world's leading nuclear nations, developing new reactors at home, exporting Canadian expertise abroad, and delivering clean baseload power and good jobs in communities right across this country. Over the coming decades, Canadians will use more electricity because many of the things we use every day, the cars we drive, the heaters in our home, and the machines in our factories, are switching to electric power. With the right investments and electrification measures, 7 in 10 Canadian households will pay less for their total energy by 2050. That's $15 billion right back in the pockets of Canadians. That's because electric machines are 2 to 4 times more efficient than those they replace. So as we electrify our transportation, our buildings, our industry, the electricity slice of our energy budget grows, but the entire pie shrinks. We start from a position of strength. Canada has amongst the lowest electricity costs in the world, and our system is already 80% non-emitting. We will need to double our grid over the next decades if we're going to accomplish our goals. Now, the scale of the investment required is huge, the timeline short, and the task of getting the right mix of power complex. If we get it wrong, Canadians will pay higher utility bills. Be too timid, Canadians will end up short of power, losing good jobs and remaining exposed to those foreign shocks. We can't pursue business as usual. We must do things differently. That means linking provincial systems. It means spreading the costs of new generation over time so that ratepayers today don't pay all the costs of these investments that will benefit Canadians over decades. It means reforming the permitting and approval processes so we can move forward faster. And it means new partnerships with Indigenous peoples to share fairly the benefits of this transformation. It means a willingness to use a wide range of energy sources and technologies, including hydro, nuclear, wind, solar, gas, carbon capture, geothermal.
So there you have it, kids and cubs. The Prime Minister explaining why electrification specifically is more important and our path forward through all the three critical gates that he is mentioning here: affordability, security, and can't remember the third one off the top of my head. Competitiveness. There we go. Because, for example, the competitiveness is right in our aluminium sector, right? Why is aluminium from Quebec some of the cheapest in the world? Because 80% of our electricity output is non-emissions generating, and a lot of it in Quebec specifically is hydroelectricity, and it takes a lot of energy to produce aluminium. So when you have the benefit of a competitive electricity price, one of the best in the world, well, then the price of any resource that is made using it therefore lowers and becomes much more competitive, right? The security in terms of, we're learning with Line 5 because it's passing through Michigan, and when they were going to cut it off at one point and we got them to keep it open, we can't keep that situation going on in that manner. There has to be a way to connect ourselves east to west electricity wise, so that and that we have other ways of generating electricity, so that if Line 5 does go, we eastern bastards, so to speak, don't freeze in the dark. Right? And there's a energy sovereignty issue as well, considering what's going on here, so we need to work on that. The Prime Minister then goes on to speak in this about the value of trust. The Prime Minister has said on many of these speeches that one of Canada's most prized assets is the fact that we are a trusted nation. And again, mentioned earlier that at the latest G7 meeting, all the countries agreed that Canada should be a place that we are looking to for additional energy. Again, as the Prime Minister says, the window is short, and if you're listening to people at Energy Media, they are making the case for why we should be careful with wanting to make these big investments in the more conventional energy areas, just because the way there are global shifts. They mentioned that as far as they can tell, China has already reached peak oil and is starting to decline, so that market may not be there as well. And there are other forces, for example, with what we're learning with the Strait of Hormuz and what's going on, what the future is going to be. There are already plans. Iraq, for example, is looking at shipping things not through Iran anymore, but going through Syria, because Syria has access to water and could be have a series of ports that could allow a whole bunch of trade that was once going through Iran to no longer go through Iran, but to take another path. Because, if people are not trusting Iran to be a player, or that they are going to be changing the rules on a whim with regard to access to the Strait of Hormuz, maybe they should be looking for another way to get their energy out as well. So human beings are such that when they see a door that is normally open start to be closed some of the time, start looking for windows. This is happening on the ground in real time as well with what we're learning and what we've recently experienced. So Canada, for example, wants to go much more electrification so that we don't have to be worried so much about these other global pressures. In Iraq, for example, they're looking for shipping routes that go through Syria. And there might be a whole bunch of other nations in those Gulf states that might be looking to go through Syria, which again, in overall geopolitics, when you have some people trying to bring Syria back to the type of internal conflicts it has been having, seeing an opportunity now to become a port destination where a lot of international trade could occur, well, that makes it that the country might be a little less inclined to going back to the old warring ways that prevent that investment. Given again, with what we've just seen in Iran, creates a once in a generation opportunity that you either seize or you let pass by. It looks like the Syrians, who have been indicating that they are serious about change, would really like to take advantage of that opportunity. So, a few years from now, maybe all the advantage that Iran thinks that it is gaining by having full control of the Strait of Hormuz now would somewhat be diminished, because people will have found other paths that force them to rely less on Iran. People want to rely less on the United States and China, but people probably want to rely less on Iran now as well, right? So that's something that's very important for us. We want to make sure that we are able to be completely self-sufficient, especially if we are going to be diversifying our trade and directing a lot more to nations that are not the United States. We have to have the ability to ensure that our energy is indeed ours to control, to manage. Finally, he gets to another point here that could get tongues wagging, and I do not know why everything is going a little awry here. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, kits and cubs. I'm having a little bit of difficulty. There we go. Sorry. It's been a tough day technologically, considering the platform itself is being relatively stable. High tech and low tech. This thing here hasn't been working well. So he then goes on and talks about how through a large collective effort, we can accomplish a lot more than any of us can do alone. And talks a little bit about some jurisdictional squabbling that has taken place in the past, something for which we may not have that much of a luxury to engage in anymore. So let's see here. I think I've got the timestamp correctly. And some interesting comment here that will definitely have people on the environmental side of things talking.
Through a large collective effort that can accomplish much more than any of us can do alone. In times of global peace and security, we've often taken such cooperation for granted, and sometimes have drifted into intergovernmental squabbling. We don't live in such an easy time. I promised you I wouldn't sugarcoat tough messages. The climate plan we inherited from the previous government was well-intentioned and well-suited for the times in which it was designed. The climate crisis is still with us, and our commitment to fighting it is absolute. The certainties of the world of 2015 are long gone. Our neighborhood hasn't been this hostile since when Canada was founded. The world hasn't been this unstable geopolitically since the end of the Second World War. We must establish stability amidst this chaos. The energy transition will be a source of great stability in the long run, but while it's underway, it can equally be a source of disruption. No country is better positioned to thrive in both eras than Canada, and we need not allow the transition from one era to another to pull us apart. The goal remains the same, but as times have changed, we must change our plan to get there. We can't afford to restrain the growth of an important part of our energy mix, oil and gas, to meet a short-term goal. I want to be clear on this point. The changes we have made will mean that our emissions will be higher in the next few years than they were projected to be under the previous government's plan. But in my judgment, that plan was not sustainable over the long term. It would have been too expensive for Canadians who are already struggling with affordability. It would have let down our partners who need new sources of energy, and it would do so right at the time when we need them to help us become more independent of the United States. And it would have been too divisive for our country. In the current environment, the old plan was an open opportunity for those people who wish to pull Canada apart, both at home and from abroad. Our new plan will help build clean energy on a scale that would astound even Sir Adam Beck. It will make Canada more sustainable, more affordable, and more prosperous. It will build Canada strong together. As you enjoy Canada Day this year, I hope you get time with the people you love.
All right. So there, the Prime Minister addressing some criticism that he has been receiving about having totally abandoned the plan that Prime Minister Trudeau put in place, and criticism as well that he advised the Trudeau government on the plan, and now he's reversed himself on everything. This is a debate that a lot of people would rather have entrenched in their positions. He's all bad, he's all good, black and white, not wanting to see the gray, not wanting to see the nuance. This plan involves pipeline promotion, therefore it is all bad. I understand that, right? The emergency of the climate issue is now. We need to stop putting additional stuff into our atmosphere that is not helping us. Again, absolutely agree. Prime Minister here speaking more as the risk manager that he is. And basically, what I hear him saying here is that the plan that we had under the Trudeau era was a good plan for the times when it came out, right? We bought into it. We put in the consumer carbon price. It was challenged in court. The court affirmed it. A lot of provinces stopped trying to come up with their own individual ways, so the backstop was applying more and more. We were getting closer to a situation where the federal backstop would be the unique, other than BC and Quebec, probably the unique program, the one and only. And if Quebec and BC had abandoned their programs, then we would have had the advantage of having one system from coast to coast to coast, which would make it easier for business to deal with and all that kind of stuff. And it was effective, and we were on our way of meeting our targets. A lot of people will say that we weren't on our way to meet them. Stephen Guilbeault, when he was Minister of the Environment very recently, still made the point of saying that we are very close to our targets, and there were still a couple of other things that were in the pipeline, so to speak, that needed to come through. And with those happening, if we didn't meet our target, we would have been very close. We would have just been missing it. This Prime Minister, however, came into office at a time where the Liberal Party of Canada was looking like it would be decimated, maybe have its second worst result ever after the result under Michael Ignatieff, for example. And the consequence of that would have been a Pierre Poilievre government that wants to make pollution essentially free, would actually probably pay and subsidize corporations to pollute. So that the policy that we had at the time was something that other people in Canada could seize upon to try to break apart our efforts is true because it was happening. We came this close from getting a Pierre Poilievre government that would have done absolutely nothing for the environment whatsoever, mainly because he was able to turn Canadians against consumer carbon pricing with such a force and such a virulence that the program really could not survive in its form and maintain enough public buy-in to be able to continue without there consistently and forever being a war or a battle of ideology going on this that was not going to be helpful and that was going to be an obstacle to getting everything else done. So this particular prime minister who has a policy of climate competitiveness rather than climate targets or climate goals is adopting a climate policy which he still has not fully explained very well, but that appears to want to embed something green in every single project to the best of our ability right now, and actually embed the results in every project rather than setting a goal and then telling industry, you have to go meet it with some legislative things and hoping that the goals get met, or that we're able to exude enough pressure, or that these goals and targets can sustain politicians punching down on them for all the years that are required between something that's proposed and something that is built, for example, and can just turn people against projects and initiatives and methods and processes and goals and targets. If we don't have an overall large stated target, we always need to have one because we've got to be aiming somewhere, but that we're not always hammering down on these, right? And don't give the other people to say, oh, this is just an opportunity for virtue signaling or making, their corporate buddies rich or all that type of stuff. But, you know, we are going to be doing more electrification. That electrification is going to be including nuclear. We are going to have interties between various provinces so that Alberta, when you're talking about needing more baseload power, we don't need much more baseload power coming from fossil fuels. Can we maybe get that from nuclear? Even if it comes from another province, because your hydro system is intertied in to someone else's, right? We're looking at those types of things, embedding the green measures in each and individual project that gets approved so that project keeps on going in a greener way. And if we do that with every project, we either reduce the carbon intensity or have a project that has very low or no carbon along the way, then maybe we will get better results. If we're looking at doubling our electrical grid and the capacity, and we're looking at energy from every source and able to, in order to do that, this, then, and we already have about 20% of our energy, of our electrification, that is not from green sources. To maintain the same ratio, 20 to 80, right, we'd still have to build another 20% more of of conventional energy rather than non-conventional, just to maintain the same ratio if we're doubling. So the prime minister sees it as necessary that there be some of these other projects that are more fossil based. He's also seeing it as an occasion, given the current moment, to be able to export more of it. Again, how long that window will be open, and is it a real opportunity, is a level for debate. I'm not necessarily convinced of it myself, because the argument from the other side, I mean, when you're watching global trends, um, does create the concern that we could be leaving ourselves with some white elephant projects. That is a legitimate concern out there. Um, we have to hope that our prime minister has a better overall view of it, and has the confidence that we can get whatever projects need to be built fast enough that we can take advantage of this moment and that the moment doesn't pass us by while we are in the construction phase and that we are left with those white elephants. So there are a lot of things to consider. Preferably, yes, absolutely. If everything that we could do from the future on, from this point on, would all be green and there would be no fossil energy, that would be ideal for the environment. Is that actual possible for us, considering that we need to double our electricity output by 2050 to do it all with other methods, and considering that there is a geopolitical issue that is on now and that will be persisting for the next short while, let's say maybe 3 to 5 years, is there an opportunity for us to be able to maximize resources into which we've already thrown in a lot of money, right? That statement from the prime minister that so long as there is conventional energy, as much of it possible should be coming from Canada. That's a very, very typical conservative Canadian argument to advance. Uh, Again, absolutely vitally necessary, or the thing that has to be said to show people in Alberta that they are not an afterthought and that we are willing to participate with them and what they have as their goals and aspirations, and not be more paternalistic towards them. Um, right? How much water in the wine needs to be put? I don't know. I don't know what that right balance is, but I see the prime minister trying to balance that, trying to embed results in the projects so that the only way that those results could be negated in the future is if someone actually scrapped the project, which probably wouldn't be in our best interest. It's easier to come back and scrap a regulation and scrap a policy, especially if the goal hasn't been met yet, especially if it's a goal 10 or 15 years in the future, than it is to say, well, you've already built this whole wind farm that's giving us, 26 extra gigawatts, whatever, at low prices and low carbon. I guess we won't destroy that, right? Or we're already 3 years into the development and construction phase of this new nuclear plant. I guess we won't stop that one, right? It's a different approach. Yes, the approach that we had was proving itself in terms of the data that we were getting, seeming that we were going to meet our target, that things were coming along. But it was coming at a great cost to social cohesion. Given now, again, blame the Conservatives entirely for this, the Canadian Conservative movement, for turning Canadians against a really good idea that was being implemented and working well, just because it didn't come from them, right? And it wasn't helping, you know, it wasn't helping the people who donate more to them. Let's just put it that way. But when we get to a point that the vilification of those processes are making it such that we are now considering electing governments that would do even less, if you want to get the results, maybe you need to take a couple steps back in order to be able to move forward, at least along the path that you have decided to embark upon 10, 12 years ago, a little better, rather than just being taken off the path completely. So, risk management. I guess that's what I'm seeing going on here in this discussion. Lots of risk management abilities from the prime minister being put at play. In that sense, commendable. Probably the right decision, considering the environmental and political context within this country specifically, and in terms of what needs to be said in order to be able to move forward and get more done. Is it the ideal solution for those who are focused strictly on the environment and say that everything else has to come second because the crisis is that important? Probably not satisfying. Probably not satisfying at all. That front. So it just depends how much of a pragmatist versus an idealist you are on this issue. um, and how motivated you are by a sense of urgency and how much risk you want to take that uh, the methods that we are putting in place would not create a situation that would have the Canadian public want to get rid of a government that is actually trying to make some progress in favor of a government that doesn't care at all. Right? Um, Again, I don't have the wisdom to tell you which one is the right path, but I think we can, well, maybe we can't all agree, but I think a lot of us can agree that Pierre Poilievre was having a lot of success campaigning against the federal Liberals under Justin Trudeau based on carbon pricing specifically. And that's why they're trying so hard with the industrial carbon tax now to vilify it, hoping that that will have the same impact. But Canadians don't experience it the same way as the consumer carbon pricing. So he's having less luck with that. Hopefully, that will continue to be the case. Right? Trudeau government probably should have printed checks, specifically when the carbon rebates were coming out, and have them sent by mail rather than direct deposit. And yes, it would have had the Conservatives screaming, "Oh my God, they're using our money to advertise when they put those little checks out saying, hey, this is coming from the government of Canada. They are using your taxpayers to self-advertise." Yeah, so. There is something psychological about receiving an actual check in the mail that turns around and says, hey, this is your climate rebate from government of Canada, that drives a message home. In this particular case, maybe uh, that strategy, which would have cost a little more and added a little more bureaucracy, which would have sent the Conservatives into hives, maybe that would have been better in the long run for the sustainability of the program. But we chose not to do that, and we got where we were. So, oh, is Guard the Leaf here? Hi, Guard the Leaf. Thank you so much for popping in and checking us out. Big fan of your work as well. We watch it a lot, and we learn a lot from you. So glad that you're here. If ever you have an opportunity to collaborate in any way, shape, or form, we'd definitely be open to that. We very much respect your work, and thank you for stopping in. Wow, so honored that you took the time. Um, are the people who listen to us. There's a lot of people who really like you and have recommended us to you, and then all that kind of stuff. Recommended you to us, and we have followed up, and we have looked at your stuff. And again, thank you for doing what you do. We need all the voices out there, trying to. Whether or not we all agree on anything, if we're coming from a good place over here when we're doing it, there's no reason whatsoever that we can't work together and spread some good messages and work together and advance the cause of Canada on the things on which we do agree. And even when we don't agree, abilities to show different perspectives in a manner that is respectful and honest. So thank you so much. Oh my God, what an honor! I just looked to the side and I saw that. Um, yeah. Oh, but yes. Oh, okay, great. Yes, we would love to have you as a guest. Absolutely. Wow, look, isn't this a great Canada Day? Isn't this a great Canada Day? Ah, that would be wonderful. Yes, we will absolutely follow up on that. Promise, hand heart. Um, sorry, I'm fan beavering a little bit here. Oh my God. Ah. Oh, man. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. We got your email. I'll send you an email to connect. We'll be looking for it with great anticipation. Thank you. Wow, what a surprise. Um, Whoever told him, I didn't even know that Guard of the Leaf knew that we existed, to be totally honest, because I hadn't had an opportunity to reach out. I'd just been consuming some stuff. I think I may have posted a comment, one or two, on some videos, but as myself, not as the show. But wow, thank you, Kits and Cubs. If any of you reached out and sent out the invitation, I'm so glad. I'm a very, very happy beaver right now. Ah, wow. Yes. Can uncover the news. Canada will enter the 2027 Eurovision Song Contest. I don't know if we've confirmed that we'll enter, but the Eurovision folks have confirmed that because CBC, I think, and the European Broadcasting Commission have some type of agreement or something that's in common that Canada is indeed eligible to send a contestant to Eurovision. So yeah, hopefully that will happen. That will happen. That would be nice. Okay, I got talking too much about what the prime minister was doing there that I wasn't able to get to the other stuff. So I will mention one other thing because we were talking about Canadians who make us proud who would be inducted to the Order of Canada. So we'll do that, I think, after we do the credits, because I like to come back for an Easter egg. And let's see what else. So we didn't talk about the Prime Minister being up north yesterday. We'll take a little look at that very, very quickly. Um, Prime Minister, um, as you know, there are three major projects uh, that have been announced for the North not too long ago. Something I think there's a deep water port and a landing strip. I think it is at Grays Bay in Northwest Territories, and then the Mackenzie Valley Highway. And there was a place in Northern Ontario that was being looked at as a place for storing nuclear waste, particularly, and not just for only what we're producing now, but for the future, given that there's this plan announced by Minister Hodgson for a larger expansion. Um, but in addition to this, the Prime Minister, and this comes to us courtesy of Olivia Stefanovich of CBC News, had gone up to the north to meet with Inuit leadership. And so um, I'll bring you this article here. It says Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Inuit leadership on Tuesday in Kuujjuaq, the largest community in the Nunavik region in northern Quebec, as part of the first trip by a sitting Prime Minister to the village in almost 20 years. When Carney landed in Kuujjuaq, about 1,505 kilometers north of Ottawa, he and several of his cabinet ministers arrived on an airstrip not built by the Canadian government, but the Americans during the Second World War. Ensuring Inuit benefit from the tens of billions of dollars slated for shoring up the Canadian military's presence in the Arctic is one of the key priorities that was slated to be discussed at the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee meeting that Carney co-chaired with Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami ITK President Natan Obed, for whom we have a lot of respect. And we have to note here that one of the reasons this is happening is because the modern day treaties, particularly with self-governing instances in the North, already have these types of provisions built into them that older treaties did not have. So there is a bit of an advantage for what it is that we are trying to do, particularly the North with the Inuit peoples, because there's already a framework for this that's been established before this that works very well and that's rather effective. Quote, the considerations about the effect on Inuit society and our culture, our sustainability, I don't believe have been fully considered yet, Obed said in an interview with CBC News before the meeting. Quote, while the government of Canada might have a very clear roadmap for what it would like to achieve, there is still time for us to insert the community element into this next wave of militarization in our homeland so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past and we don't create undue burden in our society. Speaking ahead of the meeting, Carney touted the defense investments in the Arctic and promised Inuit will benefit from the new infrastructure. Quote, we are taking full responsibility for our security and sovereignty in the Arctic, and we can only do that in full partnership with you, he told Inuit leaders. The militarization of Canada's north enabled the colonization of Inuit and determined where their hubs are located, Obed said. Now Inuit are at another precipice with the federal government, and they want to make sure that this time Canada gets it right. Quote, we've been neglected, said Pita Atami, president of Makivik, the legal representative of Inuit in Nunavik. Quote, it's very important to show our realities to the Prime Minister and to the ministers because it's always better firsthand. Carney said the government will lean on lessons from the past year to inform its strategy going forward. Quote, those lessons drive towards deeper partnership and Inuit-led systems-led reform, the Prime Minister said. None of the new defense spending announced so far is destined for Kuujjuaq, but Atami, who was born and raised in the community, says he hopes he can convince Carney and his ministers to lengthen airstrips in Nunavik and supply better equipment to the Canadian Rangers, the military's eyes and ears of the North. The specialized subcomponent of the Canadian Army Reserve use their own snowmobiles and boats for patrols, and Atami says he wants to see that change. Quote, "We want them to be fully equipped if we're going to be the eyes and ears of Canada, but we need the support of Canada to be able to do this." The Department of National Defense is looking at ways to improve the Rangers, according to Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty. She said the government is looking at the opportunity to build dual-use community garages that the military and local community members can use to repair their equipment. Inuit leaders are also looking for a commitment from the federal government for legislation that would enable the first Inuit-led university to have satellite campuses across the country. We told you about that, the big university that looks like that will be open by the end of this decade, and that will have its seat in Arviat in the north. Is it the Northwest Territories or in Nunavut specifically? I'd have to remember that, but it's in Arviat specifically, where the headquarters will be. Obed recently made headlines by suggesting an Arctic sovereignty conference in Ottawa that India could work with other countries if Canada isn't interested. And it's true, they do have that ability to do that on their own if they would like. If the partnership with Canada is not on the table, if we are not going to be respected partners, then should we not be looking for other partners as well to uphold our interests? Obed told the audience at the summit on June 19th. And we do have an Arctic ambassador now as well that could help with that. When asked to clarify his comments, Obed said he didn't mean Inuit are entertaining the idea of leaving Canada, but said Inuit leadership could turn to other jurisdictions to advance the Inuit-led university and other priorities. Obed pointed to the University of the Arctic, an international cooperative of post-secondary education in the network of universities and colleges in the circumpolar Arctic region, as an example of a cross-border partnership that could be replicated. Alty told CBC News that the request to introduce legislation for the multi-jurisdictional university is under consideration, but the government still has to consult provinces and territories. Carney was the first prime minister to visit Kuujjuaq since former Prime Minister Stephen Harper did in 2008. Alty said Carney, who was born in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, sees the North as a priority. The prime minister is committed to getting out and going across Canada, and particularly the North, she said. Atami said he wants to show Carney the prices at the grocery store, which are exceptionally higher than in southern Canada, despite a subsidy offered through the Nutrition North program. And we told you when the Prime Minister introduced his new policy for nutrition, sustainability, and security, how there was many requests from the North to revise the Nutrition North program because the subsidies to retailers alone weren't doing the job as well as they could be, and that the entirety of the subsidies were not necessarily being passed down. The Makivik president also said he wants to take the prime minister on a tour of the community to help Carney better understand the housing crisis Nunavik is facing. The region is short up to 1,000 homes, he said. The cost to build a 3-bedroom house in Nunavik is more than $1 million, according to Atami. The average yearly income in Inuit Nunangat, the Inuit homeland made up of 4 regions across the north, including Nunavik, is approximately $32,000 for Inuit and $100,000 for non-Inuit, according to ITK. Inuit Nunangat is also facing challenges eliminating tuberculosis. Nunavik in particular has among the highest rates of TB, not only in the country but the entire world, according to the region's health office officials. Ottawa pledged to eradicate TB in Inuit communities by 2030, Ottawa pledged to eradicate TB in Inuit communities by 2030, but lately rates of the serious infection disease have been rising instead of decreasing. Alty said the government still wants to work with Inuit leadership, the provinces and territories to meet the 2030 TB eradication target, but noted the work is complex. Quote, "We also need to make sure that housing is addressed," she said. "It's not just one program. We really have to make sure that we're addressing the housing and community infrastructure to support housing as well as the health infrastructure needed. And particularly with TB, if you are a lot of people living in very close quarters, that doesn't help to fight the spread." Obed said more political will is needed from all levels of government. Quote, "None of us have done the work that we should have done in the time that we had to get more results quicker," he said. "On the federal side, I hope that we can have more of a whole of a government approach to TB elimination that harnesses the power of the Public Health Agency and Health Canada in addition to Indigenous services." And over here, you will notice again, which is a difference that we normally don't see, but here, Natan Obed of ITK mentioning that none of us have done the work that we should have done in the time that we've had. So taking some responsibility himself as well for a portion of the situation that exists that does rightfully belong to them, which normally in politics we see people trying to reject that and trying to put all the blame on other people. So this is again another refreshing approach, which leads us to believe that the goodwill and the good faith is there to meet those targets, because everybody involved seems to want to move forward on this, and everybody's willing to accept the fact that all of them could have done better. So that's always, I like to see that when I see that in commentary, people taking ownership and not just laying blame, right? So some good stuff happening there on that front as well. Oh, and we have Mr. Grizzly with us. Hello, sir. I'm just about to wrap up.
Well, I was just popping in. Guard the Leaf is trying to join. I sent a link so that they could pop in for a few minutes, but Restream is not behaving correctly today at all.
Yeah.
It is crashed. I think I've been trying to join for the last 15 minutes. It's crashed several times.
I had that issue on Monday. I couldn't do a show.
Yeah, it just Restream. And I'm like, I rebooted my computer. I restarted everything. I did everything that could be done. So it's Restream.
I have to do it out of incognito mode.
Yeah. It's
in order to be able to do a show.
It's ridiculous. It's if we migrate to StreamYard after this year, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
We could look at StreamYard.
Okay.
I've used it. It's been pretty solid. It's pretty solid, but Restream has just been terrible lately. Terrible.
Listen, I don't like change.
No, I know.
And I'm not technologically inclined. And I'm saying, okay.
Yeah. It's been so pathetic lately. Like I sent the link to Guard the Leaf. I don't know. Hang on, I got a new message here. Hang on just a sec. What's he saying? Give me a few minutes. Okay, so he's going to try and join, but I don't know if it's going to work because, like I said, Restream has just been horrible today. The page freezes constantly. It crashes constantly. I mean, when I was trying to join on my phone earlier, you saw how haywire that was.
Right.
So, yeah, Restream is it's got a lot of issues right now, and all they do is frustrate us, and it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Miss Shadowcast. Yeah. Hey, Douglas, I just saw that severe weather is potentially hitting your area again today. Please stay safe. I will. We had a tornado warning yesterday.
Oh,
yeah. The winds picked up and everything. Well, hello.
How are you guys?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just trying to get my audio fixed. My headphones is coming out of my speakers, not my headphones. So just give me a second here.
Yeah, no problem. Restream can be a little finicky sometimes, and today it's been just that.
It sounds pretty clear, though.
Yeah, you sound good.
It's okay now, and the audio is coming out of my headphones. So,
okay. So
how everyone doing?
I forgot to get bread, so I'm eating a peanut butter and jam sandwich in a hot dog bun.
Nice.
Breakfast of champions.
It's about just after 11 p.m. where I am right now, so I'm probably going to be calling it a night pretty soon. But I just thought I'd stop by and say Happy Canada Day to everybody.
Yes, I believe you're in the Malaysia area, are you?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Vancouver, but late last year I actually moved over to Malaysia for work.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's completely opposite time from Canada right now.
Yeah, flip flop. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but it's been I think I'm 16 hours ahead of Vancouver right now, or 15 hours ahead. So
yeah, sounds right.
But yeah, and it's nice to be able to connect with fellow Canadians back home. So.
Oh, well, so glad that you did. Like I said, we've heard for months and months and months, maybe even well over a year now. Our audience has been writing to us and says, "Have you watched Guard the Leaf? Have you watched Guard the Leaf?" And say, "Yes, we go watch Guard the
Leaf." Well, I'm humbled to be honest. I mean, I'm just a regular Canadian like everyone, right? And I think when everything kind of happened, and shit hit the fan last year, I'm not a YouTuber at all. I'm just a regular tech guy, introvert, and I decided one day, I think I'm just going to start a channel and see what happens, right? And it just kind of evolved from there. And I told my followers, I was like, last year I would be happy if I had 3,000 subscribers, and I'll call it a day. And I'm just happy to get my message out. And lo and behold, it kind of grew from there, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, we're in similar boats. I think Mr. Grizzly is a little more gregarious, but yeah, I'm a little bit more of an introvert. He's the one that actually got convinced me to actually put my face up by creating a YouTube channel because we were just doing a regular audio podcast, and I was fine like that in
Yeah.
anonymity. It was like,
Well,
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, because I was doing it written form before, and I'm thinking, going, I'm already putting my voice to my own words. Now you want me to put my face to my own words too? Really? Yeah, I'm not sure about
yeah.
that.
And that's a question I've got. I mean, I if you follow my channel, I prefer to keep my anonymity, and
Right.
one of the reasons why is because I do have friends and family in the U.S., and if I do have to go for medical reasons,
Right.
I do worry what would happen at CBP desk when they find out, hey, you call my president an idiot, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people do wonder, right? And a lot of people were like, "Hey, why don't you show your face, or why don't you reveal your identity?" I would love to, actually. And there was a point last year where I was almost ready to, but there was an Australian journalist that went to the United States, and he was basically stopped at the border for
Mm.
his views on, I can't remember. There were some views on the Middle East war, Gaza, and a few other things, and he got denied, right? So
Yeah.
I still have ties in the United States, and like I said, I'm not going there unless somebody that I know or is close to is on their deathbed, and that's
Mm.
the only reason I want to go over. But
We fully
I
get
also
it.
don't want that hassle at the border. So
Well,
I give you credit. I mean, I would love to be on camera, but I just, for my own safety, I don't know if I can. Right? So
no, completely understand, and
Yeah.
anonymity is something that we're very eager to protect for people who, we're happy you can join us today.
I'm happy to join you
You know,
guys, and
Whatever way.
we'll protect your identity because we believe that people have that choice. It's like
Mhm.
my body, my choice. Well, guess what?
Yeah,
Right? And I
yeah,
understand the reasoning for it because I don't think I would be allowed in the United States right now for the
Mm.
things I've said about that
yeah.
fascist
Ditto.
dictator that Trump is.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I
and
worry about
you know,
myself too, right? I mean, anybody that is critical of the United States right now has a risk. And
yeah,
on my channel, I've done quite a few interviews with some of my viewers that have, one viewer that comes to mind. I did an interview with him, and he actually was on a cruise in the Caribbean. His port of entry into the United States was in Florida, and he basically got detained for about 2 or 3 hours, and his devices, his phone, his laptop, was taken away for about 2 or 3 hours and scanned and
yeah.
probably copied, right? So
Oh yeah.
those are just kind of the things. I mean, I said on my channel, 9 out of 10 people will probably get into the United States, no problem. But I don't want to be that one. I don't want to
Mhm.
be that one that might just be profiled or something, right? So
Yeah.
Well,
Well, my partner had to go for a scientific conference a
mhm.
while ago, and it was like, ooh, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you really want to do this? Is the science really that important? Because I'm all for
Mhm.
science, but it's like, ooh.
We met
Yeah.
a young woman last Monday. Not this
Mhm.
past. Yeah, this past Monday, right? We went to dinner this past Monday. Was it this past Monday?
Yes, this
Mr.
past
Beaver?
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, we met a young woman. She was actually our server at the pump,
Yes, you're
and
right.
she had been detained as well
Oh wow.
until they could make sure. Oh yeah, you're actually Canadian. And she's like, I mean, she's young. She's like maybe 22,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, but yeah, she got detained for what'd she say, a couple of days or something like that.
Yeah. Just
Oh wow.
She met a young Venezuelan couple, and she said, "Say nothing." She had to, she speaks Spanish, luckily, so she told them, "Say nothing,
Hmm.
say
Yeah.
nothing at all. That's the best thing you can do. You say anything, they're going to use it against you." Yeah, so she was detained for a few days. It's like, okay. So we did talk to her and say, "Would you like to come on our show sometime and chat with us about it? Because we would really like to get that lived experience
Yeah.
to share with people so that they know that this is real. This
mm,
really
Hmm.
happens.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a
And
joke."
yeah, and she was confused still because like she got out in a couple of days. And it's like, well, there were other Canadians that were there before me and still there after me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, why was I let go in 2 days? And so there seems
Well,
to be
if
it's
you
this
do end
big
up
black
jumping
box,
on a
right?
yeah, if you do end up jumping a call, I'd love to jump in as well. So,
Oh yeah,
be able to share
absolutely.
my experiences and my viewers' experience as well. So,
Okay, that'd be fantastic.
yeah.
Oh,
So, I don't mean to hijack your
no,
live stream.
no,
I mean, I just kind of jumped in. I mean, it's
this is a
Canada Day,
joy.
and I wanted to kind of support other Canadian creators. And I saw you had a live stream on, so I was like, hey, happy Canada Day. But I'm very happy to be able to join you guys. And I guess, how is everything back home? I mean, I don't know where you guys are based. Are you
I'm in
based
Ottawa.
in?
I'm
I'm
in
Okay,
downtown
BC.
Ottawa. Actually,
okay,
Parliament Hill is at the end of my street.
got it, got
Yeah.
it. Are there any parties and celebrations happening in
They
Ottawa?
will be a little bit later. I mean, noon is when things kick off at Le Breton
Yeah.
Flats because they can't have it on the hill. They have
Uh-huh.
a noon show. I think it's only an hour and a half, and then
Yeah.
everything kicks off again. I think it's 6 p.m. or something like that. But if you go down to the Byward Market, which is a few blocks away from here,
Mhm.
it's going to be a madhouse zoo, and it always is. Every year
Nice.
they shut multiple streets down. They have live concerts this year. It's the Box, Men Without Hats, the Spoons, and the Box are all playing in the Byward Market. It's a
My
free concert.
childhood.
Yeah, it's a free concert. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Nice. Well, it seems like all the celebrations in Canada will be definitely better than what's going on in the U.S. right now.
Oh my
Have you seen that? Apparently, I was watching a video from I think it's Aaron Parnas, and he was showing some of the video clips of the 250 celebration right now, and I think there was only like 200, 300 people there or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've seen photos of it, the Great American State Fair, and I'm like, I think I've hosted more people in my apartment on Canada Day.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've seen house parties that had more people. So, but
Oh yeah,
I have a video coming out in a few days, and I actually talk about this. And I am highly critical of the United States, but I have a soft spot for them, and
Yeah.
mainly
Right.
because I have a lot of times in the U.S. and I have a lot of friends, and I want to see my friends again, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to go, and
I know.
but at the same time as well, I can see that there's a lot of U.S. citizens that are very apathetic about what's going on, right? So it's kind of a tug of war that I've always been is that, you wanna help your friends, but you can't really do it if their country is still threatening you, right? So
Well, and I have
Right.
Canadian friends who live in Atlanta and oh, quiet Lola, and I have friends who live in Austin, Texas, and they're like, "Come on down." I'm like, "I can't right now. Like, I can't. I don't think they'd
yeah,
let me across the border," and I mean that. They're like, "Really?" And I
yeah,
go, "If they're going to check my feeds, now maybe
yeah,
I'd go with a burner phone."
hmm hmm
Okay, but all they have to do is punch my name in and they'll find it.
yeah,
And, I
Yeah.
mean,
With this face, I'm not risking it.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm what you call a lily white bread 6 foot male, so I could probably, but if they look into who I am, that's it. I'm done.
yeah,
It's not happening.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, same here. I mean, even though I try to keep my identity anonymous, I'm sure they can find me if they really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is too is that some of my friends in the U.S. they understand. They like no problem,
Yep.
and maybe we'll come visit you in Vancouver, or maybe we'll even make a trip out to Malaysia to visit you, right? But there are some friends that are just a little bit, I don't want to call them dense, but they're just kind of clueless, right? And I tell them like all the things that's going on. They're like, what do you mean? It should be fine if you hit the border, and all of this stuff is overhype. And I'm like, you're really not cluing in on what's going on, right? So yeah, it's just it's sad, and that's what makes
Yeah.
me sad is that there are places in the U.S. I still want to go. There are friends I still want to see, but I just
Right.
can't bring myself to do it, right? So
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well,
Same here.
when during Trump's first term, I vowed I would not set foot in that country while he was president, and I didn't. And then
Mhm.
I went down to Saratoga Springs, New York, to see
Yeah.
Connie Han, who's a brilliant jazz pianist. I went down for a weekend to see her, and that was during Biden's term.
Right.
And I said, if he gets back in, that's it. I'm not setting foot in that country until he's gone, and not just until he's gone, until all of his supporters
Mhm.
in the government are held responsible for what they've done to their citizens, to
Yeah.
the country, to the planet. It's
Yeah.
just, I was reading this thing
What?
about how many
Yeah,
people have
that's going to
died.
take a while.
Well, yeah, it is. But how many
Yeah.
people have died as a direct result of DOGE cuts to USAID?
For sure. Yeah.
Millions. of
Actually, I
dollars
just
died.
saw one of your viewers. He mentioned buy a used phone or a refurbished phone. Actually, I'm telling a little bit of a story right now. I mean, I get a lot of emails from people, my viewers and stuff, and someone actually said that they used a burner phone to go, and the fact that there was nothing on it, that's when they got suspicious.
Yeah.
So even having a burner phone might not get you through because if you don't have much on it, and they see that, hey, this phone's pretty much practically empty. Basically they asked this person, it's like, what are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
So even a burner phone, might not be able to get you through if they decide to go to the US. So
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah.
Mm.
So, But yeah, no, I mean, I'm very happy to join you. And, you know, I do have to get going. I just wanted to stop by and say hi and happy Canada Day to everybody. But
Happy Canada.
I got your contact now, so you know, I think in the future we definitely next time maybe you guys have a live stream, send me an email, give me about a day's heads up or so, and I'll be happy to join you.
Oh, that would be absolutely delightful. Thank you so much. And like I said, I'm still floored at the fact that you know we exist. So it's like,
Well,
yay.
you know what? I mean, I know a fair amount of the content creators that are out there, and you know, I mean, sometimes, you know, I mean, you know how it is with content creation. I mean, you get busy, you get, you know, most of my time is actually research. There's not really enough time to do networking, right?
Right.
And you know, I would love to be able to connect with other content creators. You know, I have connected with a few of them, but you know, they're busy as well. Myself and Todd Maffin, we were playing like email tag these days, and but you know, we keep in touch. But everyone has their own schedule, right? So I mean, you know, I think whenever you know, if you guys do have another live stream, you know, just give me like a day or two heads up, and I'll see if I'm available to join you.
Cool. Well, we
Absolutely.
live stream pretty much daily.
We promise
Yeah?
we will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even
right,
if we
well-
can't do it live, we'll pre-record. We're fine. We'll have it. If it means having you on, we'll do what we need to do.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And next time, I mean, maybe I just realized your software, I can add my channel to it as well, right?
Yes,
So,
yeah, you can absolutely.
Yes.
I usually use StreamYard. So I mean, either way, next time if I'm a little bit more prepared, I'll add my channel into it and have my viewers join in on the live stream as well.
Fantastic. Well,
that would be
we were
amazing.
just talking about how we're thinking about migrating to StreamYard at the end of this year because we've purchased a year's worth of licensing of this software, Restream, which Restream up until what, January
February.
of this year,
Yeah.
you know, it had been pretty solid, but it's been nothing but a nightmare as of late. And you know,
Okay.
I don't know what
I've
the
had no-
issue is. But
Yeah, I've had no problems with StreamYard. I mean, I don't do very many live streams. I mean, I use it for recordings and stuff. But so far it's been great. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it.
Well, and StreamYard, I think, will allow you to live stream in 4K as well. And
Yes.
we're limited to 1080p here. So
Yeah.
you know,
It depends on what package you have, but
Yes,
yeah, you can live stream in 4K. So, but
and StreamYard gives you that option, whereas that's not even available on Restream, not even at the highest tier. So
well, definitely, I would definitely recommend StreamYard. So, but yeah, I sorry guys, I do have to get going. It
No
may get
worries, no
late over
worries.
here, but you know, I just wanted to stop by, say Happy Canada Day to you, both of you, as well as your viewers, and we'll be in touch.
all right, sir.
All right. Happy Canada
All
Day
right.
to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Happy Canada Day to everybody.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my God.
How cool was that?
How
cool is
cool.
that?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. You got to love it. You got to love it how we get Canadian content creators coming together because we all have the same message. Let's make the country a better place. And let's get the information out to people who, as I've said time and time again, people have busy lives. They can't necessarily sit down to watch the 6 o'clock news, or they might not have time to read the newspaper, which not a lot of people do these days, but they can dial up a YouTube channel anywhere in the world on their phone and learn about what's happening in their own country, politically speaking. So that's why we do this, right? To try and get people, informed.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
jump. I'm going to jump,
All right.
sir.
Okay.
She's whining again, so it's. I got to put the other air conditioner in. It's about 30 degrees in here right now. So
yeah. Indeed.
All right. Take care.
Right.
Happy Canada Day, everybody else. See you soon. Bye.
Happy Canada Day. Thank you for dropping in. Wow. What an amazing. Listen, when I started this today, I did not think that we would get Mr. Grizzly, and I certainly did not think we were going to get Guard the Leaf as well. But oh my God, wow. It's festival day here at the Beaver Lodge. All right. Show is much longer than I thought it was going to be. It's going to be an interesting editing job when I go and do the audio. But kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. If you would like to help us, kids and cubs, scan this QR code, which will bring you to our YouTube page if you are not already there or if you are watching within 7 days of this having gone live. Please do go to our page, click on like, share, and subscribe. Click on the little notification bell and select all. That will let you know when we have something new that is up. And if I said you are watching not live, please swipe left on the comment box, and then you will see the opportunity to give us hype points, which helps the smaller audience channels like ourselves get broader viewership, and you can do that 3 times a week. We thank you so much for that. Other ways you can help is by scanning this QR code, which brings you to the Emergency Hydration Fund here at the Beaver Lodge. A little Canada Day donation of hot chocolate or hot coffee for your favorite beaver or favorite grizzly would certainly be very well appreciated. It will help us get through the day and prepare tomorrow's show, because the work never stops here at the Beaver Lodge. So does the fun, however. The fun never stops as well, too. So if you could scan that QR code, we would really appreciate it. It would bring you to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. You can make a one-time donation or a recurring donation that is at your complete discretion. You get to come in and come out whenever you want. You're not locked in. We just like to give you more options. And of course, the predictability of a sustained donation obviously helps us out a lot, gives us a little peace of mind. We get about 95 to 97% of your donation when you donate that way. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube, participate with stickers and super chats and bias memberships. We get about 70% of your donation that way. And if you want to, particularly for Canada Day, avoid the US CE Tech Bros, then you send us a direct bank transfer to our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And that way we get 100% of your donations. Thank you for every single nickel. It adds to the pot, and everything that doesn't go into hot chocolate or hot coffee goes back into the show to make it better for you. Streaming platform subscriptions, various subscriptions to get behind paywalls, honorarium, and if we have the opportunity for people who help us in specific ways, whole bunch of stuff, internet connections, all the things that we need to pay for to be able to bring this show to you several times a day. If you missed it yesterday, I did a quick breaking news pop in because there was a class action suit process being filed with the court with regards to the voter breach in Alberta. I didn't want to talk too much about it today because I wanted today to be more sort of positive stories or stories about Canada, Canadian citizenship as a whole. And it wasn't going to fit in the theme, but it was important enough. So please check that out. It's just a short one, fewer than 25 minutes, but just a little breaking news about something big that happened yesterday. And I wanted you to know that it was there in case you needed it. And of course, rest up, because on the 4th of July, we need to be breaking these things out again when Canada is going to be playing Morocco at the World Cup. So keep your screaming and cheering voices nice and well protected, even though we're going to be doing some hooting and hollering today. All right. If you cannot contribute financially, you can contribute in word, and you can do so by using that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, to let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly, to send us some guest recommendations for the True North Eager Beaver interview project, to ask us questions about politics that you would like us to answer, or questions about the show you would like us to answer, or to just share your good news, because that helps us on the days when the doom scrolling gets a little heavy. It really helps us get through the day. We love to hear when good things happen to good people. So please share your good news with us so that we can celebrate in your joy as well. All right. If you are not able to contribute financially, and you are contributing in word, but you want to reach us via our socials at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. We have the Beaver Bite Substack. We have the Damn Fam Discord. We have our Instagram channel run by Kit Uncover, who also designs a lot of our clips. Thank you so very much for your hard work. We really appreciate it. And our coffee page, like we mentioned, coffeeko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. That's where you can find us to keep the conversation going. Also on our YouTube channel, right down here in the comments section, leave us a little something. We try to read everything that you write, even though we're not able to answer everyone, and all of your feedback, whether it's a financial donation or a donation in words, some constructive criticism, all of that goes back into the show to make it better for you. And we hope that you see how it is that we improve over time. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. It is very appreciated. And by the way, for those who don't know, it was 4 years ago today, July 1st, 2022, that Mr. Grizzly and I made our debut on YouTube. So our channel is 4 years old today. So also, hey, it's Canada Day and our YouTube channel's birthday. How convenient that it's on the same day. It's almost like we planned it. All right. Because democracy is something that you do today, I want you to just get out there and wave that flag, be Canadian in whatever way you can. Again, whether it is celebrating or whether it is taking some time to look into what it is that we could do better and how we could be better. Either is perfectly good and fine by me. Let me know what it is that you're doing to celebrate Canada Day or to push Canada to be better. If you have the opportunity in our comment section as well, we would love to hear about that and how it is that you experienced the day. All right. Words of wisdom. Be proud. We live in a great country. Sometimes when we are looking at the things that are going wrong or how it is that we can improve, we forget to realize where it is that we are. It's a damn fine country. It's a beautiful place to be from. And sometimes we just need to put a little more gratitude in our attitude and focus on being grateful for the things that we do have and not angry or resentful for the things we do not have or do not have yet. So let's, of course, push to be better, celebrate what we have, and take stock, but also take the time to appreciate what we do have, because there are many countries around the world, and there's not one that I would pick above this one to be who I am and to live and to be happy. So hopefully that is the same for you as well. All right. That's all I've got. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And at the count of 3, may I please have you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock, and I will come back with a little bit of news from Canadians who make us proud. On 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Allez-y. Ah, yes. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Whether it's in English, in French, or any other language, I heard you say it. I loved it. It was good. It made me happy. So here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo, which is a universal language for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kits and cubs, a little bit of Canada Day news for you by Josh Pringle of CTV News. If you happen to be in Ottawa, we're getting ready for the noon hour show that will feature Alicia Cara, Loud, Naomi, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. They will be among the special guests. Canadian Heritage announced the lineup for the show in early June 9th. It will be hosted by Judy St. Pierre and Melissa O'Neill. Canadian Heritage says the artists to perform are, as I mentioned, Alicia Cara, Loud, Toby, Adrian Sutherland, Naomi, Eleonore Lagacé, Alicia Bloor, Alexandre Douzy-Tétrault, Diantha Edmonds, and Juliana Labelle. Special guests scheduled to appear include Hansen, who is on board the Artemis II mission, Rick Hansen, Olympic and Paralympic athletes and recipients of the Order of Canada. So we'll have Hansen and Hansen. To be right in the heart of the action, head to LeBreton Flats Park, where the ceremony will begin at noon Eastern Time, Canadian Heritage said. It will also be broadcast live on a giant screen at the official Canada Day sites on Parliament Hill and in front of the Supreme Court of Canada building. Last month, Canadian Heritage unveiled the lineup for the evening show that will feature some of the people from the afternoon show and a few others. So there will be Adam Baldwin, Alicia Cara, the Bare Naked Ladies, Beatrice Deer, Diane Dufresne. Oh my God, there's a legend if anybody's familiar with Francophone culture. Dominique Fils-Aimé, she is absolutely amazing, by the way, if you have an opportunity to hear her recordings. Gab Bouchard, Isabelle Boulay, Miko, Noéline Hoffman, Paul Langlois, Pierre Lapointe, Petit Béliveau, and Sylvia Courtier. Canada Day celebrations will wrap up with the Tim Hortons Canada Day fireworks at 10 p.m. On July 1, Canadians from coast to coast to coast are invited to celebrate in their own communities as well as in the heart of Canada's capital region, Canadian Heritage said in a statement. Wherever we are, Canada Day remains a unique opportunity to come together, create precious memories, and proudly show our colors. Canada Day festivities will be held on Parliament Hill in front of the Supreme Court of Canada building and in Old Hull. The festivities on Parliament Hill include the music of the Ceremonial Guard, the Royal Canadian Air Force pipes and drums, and a demonstration by the Snowbirds from 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. There you have it, kids and cubs. And since we are talking about Canadians who make us proud, 5 days ago, the Governor General announced 61 new appointments to the Order of Canada. It says here that the 61 new appointments include 4 companions, 19 officers, 38 members, and 5 appointments represent promotions within the order. The Order of Canada is the cornerstone of Canada's honor system. Since its creation in 1967, nearly 8,800 people from all sectors of society have been appointed to or promoted within to the order. The contributors of these trailblazers are varied, yet they have all enriched the lives of others and made a difference to this country. Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Louise Arbour, Governor General of Canada, 31st, recently installed, says, the Order of Canada recognizes those whose contributions help us see our country and our place in the world with greater clarity and purpose. These appointees from diverse backgrounds and fields reflect the talent and determination that shape Canada's future. At a time of profound global change, their achievements highlight the strength of Canadians and the values we represent to the world. Together, they remind us that building our country's future is a shared effort that requires ambition and long-term commitment. I am honored for the first time as Governor General to extend my sincere congratulations to all new appointees. The motto of the order, Desiderantes Meliorum Patriam, translates to the desire a better country. Anybody can nominate a person for the Order of Canada. Nominations are accepted on an ongoing basis and can be made online at gg.ca. So if you know somebody that would be a good candidate for receiving one, you can proactively recommend them. Governor General Mary Simon made these appointments on April 17th, 2026, on the recommendation of the Advisory Council for the Order of Canada. A person officially becomes a member of the Order of Canada on the day the instrument of appointment is sealed with the seal of the Order of Canada and signed by the Governor General. A member or an officer of the Order of Canada can be promoted to a higher level if they demonstrate further exceptional achievement. Nominations for promotion can be considered a minimum of 5 years after the last appointment. And new appointees of the order will be invited to a future ceremony to be invested and to receive their insignia. The dates of these ceremonies will be announced in due course. And of those new appointees receiving a promotion within the order to the status of companion, Michael Fox, or otherwise known as Michael J. Fox. Michael Andrew Fox is the official name here. From Burnaby, British Columbia, says here, Michael J. Fox is in a remarkable chapter of his life, blending selective acting with powerful global advocacy and unflinching honesty about Parkinson's. Through his foundation, he drives transformative research and hope. He has inspired millions worldwide by channeling his voice into writing, public speaking, and the acclaimed 23 documentary Still. Donald K. Johnson, a promotion within the order, has strengthened business education, healthcare, and the arts through transformative philanthropy and leadership. His major gifts to the Ivy Business School, the Donald K. Johnson Eye Institute, and leading cultural institutions complement his ongoing advocacy to remove capital gains tax on charitable gifts to increase donations nationwide. Lewis Edward Kay from Toronto, also promoted within the order, is driving innovation in biomolecular structure and dynamics research. This University of Toronto professor and Sick Kids senior scientist continues to refine nuclear magnetic resonance (NMR) approaches to study large, previously unreachable proteins and apply NMR to increasingly complex biological systems. He is also a dedicated mentor guiding future innovators and specialists. Also promoted within the order, Christine Sinclair, Queen Christine, is an international soccer legend from Vancouver, British Columbia, one of the most influential athletes in Canadian history. She is the world's all-time leading goal scorer and captain of the Canadian team to its first ever Olympic gold medal. She is a powerful advocate for the advancement of women's sport and has inspired generations of athletes globally. And then there's a long list of officers, which we are not going to read today, but since we are going to have a show tomorrow, we are definitely going to take some time to mention them here. And I'm going through the names, and there are some names that I do very much recognize here. And they have been admitted as officers. And then, of course, then there will be the members after that. And again, some very accomplished people. And I can't wait to tell you all about them tomorrow when we do a little bit of a recap on what Canada Day was like here. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I got for you. I'm going to say amour et bisous. If you are not in Ottawa and you have the opportunity to tune in to the noontime show, please do so. I will be doing so today. Like I said, it's too hot for me today, so I will not be going out in 40-degree weather. Maybe tonight to see some fireworks, but for now, it's going to be just a calm day at home and living vicariously through the people who are bold and brave enough to go outside and brave the weather. So a bit more of an extended show than I had planned today, but hey, we had guests, and hey, there's always room at our table for one more, right? Doesn't matter if all we have in the fridge are eggs and mustard, we'll whip up a 3-course meal and you're staying for dinner. That's the way it works here in Canada. All right, my lovelies. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. And we will see you very, very soon. Happy Canada Day. Bye, everyone.